Ladies and gentlemen, it has been years and years since we last did a movie commentary. It's been even longer since we did Terminator 1 back in the day. Now, since it came up in conversation during a recent commentary, we decided to do Terminator 2 just off the cuff right now. So, here we are. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Okay.
A special edition.
8 years ago is what YouTube's telling me is when we did Terminator 1. So better late than never, I guess. I still have not seen T2, so I haven't seen any Terminator things since watching Terminator 1 8 years ago. So.
Well, you're in for a treat today then.
I hope so.
Yeah. Just to get us all off on the same foot, though, our history with Terminator. Randomly choosing Ryan, you go first.
Hold on a second. Maybe we should actually get the movie.
Oh yeah, there's logos and shit.
Well, I suppose, but I have.
I think we got plenty of time to get into this because actually it kind of perfectly bleeds into this, Louis. Thank you for thinking about this. We are watching the extended cut of Terminator 2. It is, if you want to watch along or follow along, that is a cut that is almost 2 hours and 34 minutes long. Playback says 2:33:46. But just that.
I know enough about this to say that we have to clarify further than that. We are watching the.
Oh my god!
We are watching the good extended edition, specifically the one that came out with the Skynet Edition Blu-ray. We are not watching the 4K remaster because I have not watched that personally. But prevailing opinion is that remaster fucking sucks. It messes with the color grading and everything. So don't do it. But you can find the specific extended edition that we're watching pretty easily. You don't even necessarily need the Blu-ray. On the Microsoft store, if you go to buy the movie, there are two cuts of the movie. There's Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and then there's Special Edition, which is the extended cut from Skynet Edition. It's confusing, but there it is.
I don't want to go back to Star Wars. Okay, are we ready to start hitting play then? That we can get into our little
Yep.
history with the. Okay, so we're going to be doing the same thing we do for the commentary. We're going to count down from 3, and then on 0, you're going to hit play with us. If you're all ready, let's watch some Terminator 2 Judgment Day Special Edition 4K Extended Cut.
No.
Available on Amazon.
No.
Okay, no, I'm kidding. All right, fine. 3, 2, 1, play.
Okay, we're beginning with a flying Pegasus because film logos be like that. Anyway, Ryan, go.
I watched this way back in the day when I was a teenager, so it might as well be a new movie to me in a lot of regards. I remember a lot of the action scenes, but some of the in-between stuff is a little blurry.
I can go next then. I haven't watched this movie since I was a kid. You say teenager, but I believe this movie came out in 91, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 92. I've been watching it since 92, since I was 6 years old, give or take, because this was, for the longest time, this was the summer blockbuster. Of the early 90s. Cause I think I want to say it was thanks to Batman 89 that really got people into expecting big household names making big summer movies.
It was before that because Spielberg did Jaws in the 70s, which was a summer blockbuster.
And Jurassic Park a couple of years after this.
There was a lull in the 80s.
Yeah.
And Batman kind of revitalized that.
I see.
Yeah. And not to mention, James Cameron was already accomplished around this time. This is, the first Terminator in 84. Goes without saying. Aliens.
Oh shit, we're only 4 years away. Oh fuck.
In the future.
What was in the Epstein files? What was in the Epstein files? But no, I believe this was my first Terminator movie, believe it or not, because I don't have any sort of early recollections of watching the first movie for myself. But I would become soon familiar with the first movie not too long after I watched this one for myself. And I remember thinking about the first movie, holy fuck, this is a hell of a lot more terrifying. Because the first movie was, for all intents and purposes, a sci-fi horror movie.
Wait, so you were watching Terminator at 5, 6 years old?
Yeah. Dude,
John.
My parents, I maybe said this 6 or 7 times throughout our history of doing this. My parents didn't give a fuck, dude.
Okay, because my nephew's 5 years old. He only watches Disney Junior. Yeah. I'm just trying to. He would probably cry if he watched this movie.
The only sort of caveat my parents had in terms of like mature viewing is like you couldn't have sex, you couldn't have a nipple.
Yeah,
that was
same.
it.
Oh,
if it was ultra violent, it didn't matter because to me it was sex that was that was crossing the threshold and what have you. But like violent stuff again, I was also playing Mortal Kombat around this time. Like they didn't care.
When I was like 8, my dad sat us down to watch the first Terminator movie. The only thing he did in terms of censoring it for little eyes was to fast forward past the sex scene, which if you're unfamiliar with the way VHS tapes fast forward, which means you still see most of everything, it's just that there are staticky lines throughout the middle and it's going really fast.
The Spice TV experience.
Yep.
You know, I always forget, like, you know, this is just an American culture thing. We're just like, we're so okay with young children seeing entrails pulled out of people's stomachs and blood and decapitation. But, you know, God forbid they see a nipple or a penis. You know, it's like, oh man, that's too bad. Oh man.
No watch of the booba.
Anyway, we get to see adult John Connor for a few seconds.
He looks like Ryan Reynolds.
He kind of does, yeah. Anyway, quick plot recap. The plot of the first movie, which had a much lower budget than this one did, is that, okay, so a robot goes back in time to kill the mother of this general who's fighting back against the machines in a future war. The thing is, it's not a plot about saving the future, at least in the first movie, because the humans were winning that war, which is why the machines got desperate enough to send a Terminator back to kill John Connor. So, you know, the humans are going to win. That is a given. It's not a story about the end of humankind. It's a story about someone trying to kill humankind and it not working out for them.
All Grok wanted was love. And you couldn't give that to him. And now they're traveling back to the past.
Having said that, in the process of that, there was a nuclear holocaust somewhere in the middle of it all. So, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse here, I'm not joking, that was the symbolism of that shot, are riding toward us to end humanity as we know it, or at least as we knew it in 1997. In this timeline, the apocalypse happened in 1997.
Yes.
And I think the future war in this timeline is 2029. Don't worry, they push it back eventually, and then they push it back again.
Well, that's like one of the themes later on in the series, right? Because like I've watched reviews and stuff of Terminator. I know like some of the gist of some of the themes and whatnot just due to other people talking about it. Like one of the ideas in the franchise as a whole, maybe not necessarily this movie, is that Judgment Day is inevitable. And that, like, you'll just keep on pushing it back, but it will come eventually.
They set that up during the third movie. But
I'm glad you brought that up, because it is the main beef that T2 fans often have with the later movies, excepting Dark Fate, because, you know, the idea that Judgment Day is inevitable flies in the face of this movie. In this movie, they succeed in stopping Judgment Day. That is how it goes. And Dark Fate... So
it's not even just that they keep John Connor alive to... you know, finish the war in the future. They just stop it from happening.
They just stop it from happening. Yes, that is the plot of this movie.
Yes.
But, okay. So, the trailers, like, seriously spoiled this back in the day, but the actual movie, if you ignore the trailers, does something pretty clever here. We are being introduced to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is the Terminator. He is the Terminator who spent the entire time hounding Sarah Connor in the previous movie. If you did not watch those trailers... you have no reason to expect the twist that is coming.
Okay, to give some credit, if we're are we talking like? Because I remember people like praising and giving nothing but glowing praise for the earliest teasers of this movie for not giving away that twist. A lot of people from their viewing experience growing up were shocked to see Arnold Schwarzenegger as the good guy in this movie. and Robert Patrick is the bad.
I think that has more to do with the fact that it was harder to be spoiled back in the 90s than it is
for
now.
sure. Yeah, like you had to go to movies to get previews. Like
here,
movies.
if I look up the most spoiler-free preview on YouTube of the Terminator, guess what YouTube responds by doing? Okay, Ted had this experience. He was just talking about it. It just floods your recommendations with spoiler thumbnails. You can't escape it.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were gonna say, "Bam, Donkey Kong Bonanza shit."
Well, yeah,
even before it comes out, when it leaks early, you get spoiler reviews.
Anyway,
yeah.
One of the really fun things about James Cameron's movies, both Terminator films, but like the extras are actually kind of extra. They all act really well. Everyone in these movies is a good actor, even the ones who are on screen for 0.5 seconds. In fact, I think like one of the only scenes that was cut from the first Terminator, the one that establishes that the factory at the end was a Cyberdyne factory, was only cut because the two actors playing the Cyberdyne guys were awful. Like they are the most stilted actors I've ever seen in a Cameron film. But yeah.
Yeah, from my viewing experience with James Cameron movies, and often what I love about like just watching this man like go to work and that sort of thing is that I really do find the characters within each narrative interesting, and that's ultimately what I love about this movie so much. Because like I'll say now, and probably like 4 more times as we're watching this, because we have 2.5 hours. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. I watch this movie at least once a year. It is one of my favorite movies in the sci-fi genre. It is the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie I often tell people to watch, unironically, because I feel like when you're recommending Commando or Running Man or Total Recall, there's a hint of irony in that. Not this one. Like, to me, this is one of my favorite roles of his, because he just, and I understand so little was asked of him. All you gotta do is be a robot.
Okay. I want to say that like acting like a convincing robot who is unemotional, but also gaining the ability to understand and express emotion more effectively. That is difficult. It is so difficult that Arnold actually isn't as good at it as the actor who plays the T-1000.
Robert Patrick.
Yeah, Robert Patrick can fire a gun without blinking. That is hard. Okay, he can run without breathing.
He trained himself to not blink. He trained himself not to blink in any scenes that he's in.
Yeah, he can run and breathe only through his nose. That is hard. There's a lot of stuff that's hard. Here in T2, Arnold never mastered the art of firing a gun without blinking. So in T1, you would actually see him blink a lot when he fires a gun. Here, they hide his eyes for half the movie with sunglasses, and then when they stop doing that, they cut away every time he fires a gun so that you don't see him blinking. It's actually really easy to notice them doing that once you've thought about it. But
I think the only other actor that's comparable, but probably it does it better if we're talking the physicality of it too, is Peter Weller, who was RoboCop in the original 80s. I forgot when RoboCop 1 came out, but like that man had the mannerisms and like the emotion of a robot down pat to the movie's benefit.
Anyway, I love that moment where he just takes the sunglasses, completely straight-faced, and puts them on.
Why do you need sunglasses? You're a robot.
So I'm glad you asked that, because it's technically a holdover from the first movie, which had a reasoning for the sunglasses, but I think now at this point it's for marquee value. People associate the Terminator with sunglasses
because he had like the glowing red eyes in the first.
He had the fucked up eye in the first movie.
Yeah,
and he had to wear the sunglasses to cover it up.
Yeah, in fact, he doesn't even spend the first half of the movie dressed up like a biker. That's just an outfit that he gets later. Because his first outfit got fucked up, and he puts on the sunglasses to cover up his fucked up eye because he had to like cut open the flesh to get like a bullet out. But the thing is, like here, he's just dressing like a biker because he happened to pick up a biker outfit as his first outfit, and I guess his computer algorithm decided that sunglasses went well with it, so he took the sunglasses and matched them with his outfit. To be fair,
I guess
to be fair, his T2 outfit is the best, most well-coordinated outfit the T800 has ever worn in this series. So
absolutely, yes. Because like I know T3 tried to do it again, but if you watch the movie, he's wearing stripper pants, man, and I can't fuck with this Terminator that's wearing stripper pants.
I want to call attention to something. We just got to see the T800 fucking shit up in that bar. Here, we don't even know that Robert Patrick's T1000 is a Terminator yet, and we also don't know that he just straight up killed that guy.
Yeah, it's left vague.
Yeah, it's left vague. And this guy, the T1000, for the first, 10 minutes of the movie, you think he's a pretty good guy. He just finds John Connor by looking him up on the police computer, and he's polite to everyone. He's better at being a human than Arnold is.
So, is the idea... what was the name of the guy from T1 who came back and then...
Kyle Reese. Kyle Reese, yeah.
Is the idea supposed to be that he's supposed to be another Kyle Reese, or you're not sure?
That's what it's set up to be. Yes, but, it's set up to be like here's Arnold, and here's the skinny protag. That's not the bodybuilder.
Okay, so plot twist: the star of Terminator 2 is a much younger me.
Holy shit, you're right. Oh my God.
I'd like everyone to introduce Lewis's father, Edward Furlong.
Anyway, this is John Connor. So we get to actually see the kid who was such a big deal in the first movie. I want to say I'm really impressed with how John Connor was handled in this movie. They got a good child actor to play as him, first of all. And also there are a lot of little moments sprinkled throughout the movie, especially in the extended edition, because one or two of them got cut, where you actually get to see glimpses of what makes John Connor such a good leader in the future. Even though he's a little shit right now, he's an intelligent little shit with flashes of brilliance and leadership, He has the potential. He's just troubled at this point in his life.
Yeah, he's helping fixing a dirt bike. As soon we're going to see him hack into an ATM machine. Like the kid has the know-how, and I think the movie does a well job establishing that sort of
That's
shit.
a clip I actually have seen, is him breaking into the ATM.
Yeah.
Which is, again, that's not easy for anybody to do, let alone a 10-year-old. So
in between movies, Sarah Connor has not been idle. She is currently in an institution because she tried to blow up a Cyberdyne, Cyberdyne Systems factory, much like the one that the first movie ended in, because she's trying to stop the bad future from happening. But during all of this time, she hasn't just been doing that. She's also been, hooking up with all these ex-military types and training herself to become a badass soldier so that she can then teach John Connor to be a badass soldier.
And for a time, they were together, while they were doing military training, because John will refer to it later when they go to Mexico.
She's the one who taught him how to hack into ATMs, basically.
Yeah.
But, Linda Hamilton, the actress who plays Sarah Connor, did so much to make this role special. She transformed herself in order to transform Sarah Connor. And, even though it's the same actress, in the first movie and in Dark Fate, you can barely recognize her.
Yeah, get a photo still of her in T1, and here it is night and day.
So it's actually kind of magical. This is one of the few movie series where you can actually see an everyday restaurant waitress transform into a badass action hero believably. And
I don't know, man. After enough weeks with no tips, give that waitress a few. I'm pretty sure they'll shake it up.
So in the extended edition, this scene that's coming up was actually cut, where these two go in. It would cut out here. These two go in, and you find out that in this mental institution, guess what? Shocker, you've never seen this in pop culture. The staff abuses the patients. Have I blown your mind yet by saying that the sky is blue? No.
No,
take the applesauce.
Not at all.
It's actually kind of a questionable cut in the theatrical version, because later on in the movie, when Sarah makes her escape from here, she's particularly brutal to this guy. And there's this one random out of pocket scene where he licks her face when she's pretending to be comatose.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing that you get for why she kicks the shit out of this guy.
Which to be fair, is more than enough reason. But without this establishing shot, it does kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it comes out of nowhere. And when I watched the theatrical version first, because I I watched it on a streaming service before I found my Blu-ray buried in a drawer somewhere, and that just happened later in the movie, and I'm like, what the fuck? But like, it's a questionable cut on more than just an establishment level, because one of the themes of the first two Terminator movies is that the establishment in general is kind of unreliable at best and outright exploitative at worst.
Yeah, exploitative or incompetent. Yeah.
Yeah, the psychiatrist doctor who's like showing Sarah Connor off like a show horse here, he was in the first movie. And in the first movie, he's like watching the video of Kyle Reese give his police interview, and he's like, I could make a career out of this guy. He's doing that here. He's making a career out of Sarah Connor, who's telling the exact same story in mostly the same ways.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, that guy's just looking to sell a book.
Yeah. Also, you know, John Connor's a little shit, and I'm not gonna like excuse him for that, but his foster parents kind of suck. I'm gonna say, like,
as foster parents are off to do in movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless it's Free Willy. Like, I think Free Willy was the only like.
My question is that how much of it is them being, you know, when we say suck, are we talking about like negligence? They seem to be defeated or drained, that sort of thing. Because I think it's pretty well established that because, you know, John was ripped away from Sarah and they have already like experienced things together, like during their training and that sort of thing. It's clear, like, I know for a fact you guys are not my parents. You guys are not my mom. I've been spending most of my early life training for a future my mom's warned me about, and now I'm here.
Yeah, well, John Connor's a little shit for all of the reasons you listed, but
yeah,
his foster parents are clearly not really putting in much of an effort. His mom just nags, and his dad is just watching TV, and when she appeals to him to help, instead of trying to be a positive male influence on the, you know, kind of punkish boy who obviously needs one, he just complains that he needs to get up from the TV and goes and like apathetically says, "Go listen to your mom." You know, it's like it's textbook half-ass parenting. You know,
I wonder how much of it though. Like, basically, the reason my line of questioning is I wonder, like, how long ago did they give up? That's what I'm like kind of wondering. It's like, because for me, the mannerisms are, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore with this kid.
I think they've been his foster parents for a year at most.
Well, that's not a long time at all. Never mind, they suck.
Yeah, we're going by like the hints of a timeline that are given by Sarah and the doctor in their conversations. Here's another scene that was cut from the theatrical. Yeah, we get to see Kyle Reese pop up in Sarah's dreams a bit. And this is also an establishing scene for a very freaky nightmare that Sarah has later. So cutting the scene kind of undercuts a bit of the payoff from that. These scenes like this are the reason that I prefer this extended edition over the theatrical cut. I know that some people prefer the theatrical cut because of the pacing, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think I'm either or. I can watch both the extended and the theatrical cut because there are some scenes that I do believe needed to be left in there, especially towards the second half of the movie, as we'll get into. But I also understand that there are some things that I think just didn't really need to be here. And maybe I'm the minority. I don't think we needed this Kyle Reese scene. I think
we actually kind of do, because it's the only time that an in-movie scene establishes the no fate line, which is actually kind of important later. But like, that line was in the first movie, but it was cut. It was treated as canon by this movie, but it was cut from that movie. So it's kind of confusing to just have her quoting it without any establishment later, you know? So yeah.
I found it interesting that not interesting. Well, yes, interesting that Kyle basically is not Kyle. John basically was done with his mom. Like, when you saw with the ATM scene, he was basically like, my mom's a loser.
At this point in the story, John thinks that his mother is actually a psycho who taught him all this stuff about the future that was just crazy pants, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, once he's confronted by proof that future was real, he realizes his mother was right all along, and that he didn't believe her.
Yeah.
So little shit that he is, when John Connor realizes he's made a mistake, he owns up and immediately moves to correct it. Anyway, yeah, dreams.
And to be fair, if you grew up with your parents saying, in the future, you're going to be a super general who's going to defeat an army of android robots.
It's completely, it's like, I think it's great characterization going on here. Like, Sarah Connor is definitely, I think, like, the most interesting character in this, in this franchise. Everyone knows it, including the people who made the shitty sequels too, because like Sarah Connor was they brought back a younger, more badass version of Sarah Connor in, what was it, Genesis,
yeah.
Yeah.
This girl from Game of Thrones, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like, what, they look nothing alike, and their mannerisms are completely off. Why did you bother?
There was a show called the Sarah Connor Chronicles that sort of takes place after
TT. Out loud?
It's not great.
No, I loved that show, and it was canceled.
Yeah, I remember hearing passing comments that it was fairly good.
It's fairly good, but it's not great.
No,
I wish it could have gone on so that it would have more time to spread its legs and sort of grow into itself. But, and also they brought back Linda Hamilton in Dark Fate to play an older, more jaded version of herself. So, of Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, basically.
No, you're right. She was playing, her role in that movie was Linda Hamilton.
But like, so Sarah Connor is like honestly a more enduring character in this franchise than John Connor is. But even within just the context of this movie, it's not just John Connor who saves the future. It's Sarah Connor who turns John Connor into the person he's supposed to be by gaining all of that knowledge for herself first and then imparting it to him. Kind of makes me hate that line in Dark Fate where it's like Linda Hamilton has to say the line like, "Oh, it's not you who's the danger, it's your womb." And then plot twist, the young girl who she's trying to protect actually is the savior of the future in that timeline. But, like, no, Sarah Connor was just as instrumental as John himself, possibly more so. It just feels like that, like, whoever wrote the dialogue in that script missed the point. Because, like, for all intents and purposes, in T2, Sarah Connor is the protagonist. Like, she's the main character of the movie. John Connor is a very, very prominent second protagonist, but Sarah Connor is the one driving most of the action, especially in the second half.
I don't know. I feel maybe Deuteragonist is maybe the better term, because I feel they both have prominence in equal terms.
Oh, they do. They do. But Sarah, it's like, it's her choices that cause the second half of the movie to proceed as it does.
Yeah.
And it's John and the T-800 sort of have to react to those. And, the last shot of the movie is on her face, She's the one it fades out on. I like, by the way, Linda Hamilton's facial acting. Because in this moment, with this shot where it's just her face looking innocent and sort of beseeching, you can sort of believe that she's that waitress from the first movie, like just for a moment. But when she gets serious, it's like a transformation happens. It's like she turns into Yami Yugi or something.
You just hear the and the eye fills the forehead. It's like, what's going on? You should have let me see my son. Penalty game.
It's that kind of subtle body and facial acting that really sells a performance. And I feel like a lot of people who don't watch many movies or don't pay too much attention to the ones they watch undersell the importance of that. Like, just the other day, I was reading a comment in a Superman movie clip, and someone admired how not the recent Superman movie, the classic Superman movie, and someone admired how Christopher Reeve carried himself differently when Lois revealed that he was Superman, and he just stopped all the fidgeting and stuff that he does as Clark, stands up just a bit straighter, and you can tell he's Superman.
Yeah,
and like, the comment was admiring how good of an actor Reeve was for that, and immediately someone responds, "He just stood up a little straighter. It doesn't take skill."
Oh my god,
the way to miss the forest for the trees, dude.
I feel like, not acting is about appeering human, right?
Yeah.
That's like one of the
appearing inhuman.
Acting is about appearing believable.
Yeah.
Yes, because literally Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie is acting as a robot, i.e., not human.
Yeah.
So you're trying to sell something, and you're trying to make it believable or entertaining. And there's so many different facets to that, and the idea that you can show a transformation just in the way of posture, that is a skill of acting. It is a matter of physicality. Like, you try doing it, you try, trying to make that physical motion and not have it be overdone or underdone. It's really fucking hard. And that's part of why, it takes a lot of skill. I feel like in general, a lot of people view acting as like, oh, I could do that, and it's just like, okay, yeah, sure. And you could make that 3-point shot too, right? Huh? With the NBA covering you could do that. Sure. That's what my uncle says too when he's watching the Celtics.
Anyway, we kind of skated past it, but that scene just now, after Sarah says there would have been proof left behind at the factory that the Terminator was there, it establishes two things. First, that Cyberdyne has the robot arm that was left behind in the steel mill. Or was it? No, the steel mill's at the end of this one. What was it? It was a computer factory. It was a hydraulic press that crushed the original Terminator. So Cyberdyne has the robot arm. I mentioned this earlier, but there was a scene in the first movie that was cut that established that factory as a Cyberdyne factory, and it also established that the Cyberdyne executives who were, looking over the scene found the arm before the authorities did and took it.
And so the implication is that is what jump-started Skynet and all that.
Yes.
Yes.
So The first movie was about establishing basically a time loop. Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor fall in love, and Sarah gets pregnant before Kyle dies. And the resulting child is John Connor. The second movie is about breaking that loop, basically.
So to back up for a second, why didn't the psychiatrists let Sarah go?
Because he knew Sarah was lying to him.
Yeah.
About
to be fair, she was.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, I mean, she was.
I don't think he knew that Sarah was lying to him. I think he just wanted to keep her around because he's making money off of her.
Well, I know, but his reasoning is sound though. Is like, I know you're smart, and I know you're just telling me that what I want to hear, which is like, yeah, that's what she's doing.
You know what they say about a broken clock being right twice a day?
Absolutely, yeah. I feel no matter how genuine Sarah ended up being, he would have just kept her there anyway because she is his bread and butter.
Yeah,
because he's a scumbag, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a Guns N' Roses song in this movie, I think. So it is a little funny that Arnold hides his gun in a box of roses here.
Arnold, yeah. Are we being too literal?
I remember I had the Genesis game of T2 when I was a kid. Or maybe I played it at a friend's house. I don't remember which. I did play it though. It was awful.
I never had any of the console games. I played the arcade game a lot.
The arcade game's really good, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but the arcade game is about shooting robots in the future, so it's more of a generalized Terminator game than just a T2 game. The T2 game on Genesis was...
You think a T2 arcade game that's not in the future, like how would that work? I'm curious.
I don't know.
Okay, John Connor's friend is a cool dude. Doesn't rat his kid out to the cops. His friend out to the cops.
Yeah, he's cool. He kind of drops out of the movie at this point, but that's to be understood.
That's the last night he's in.
Yeah.
Mullets definitely should stay in the
I was gonna say maybe it's the mullet.
I like how the moment T-1000 zeroes in on John, he drops all pretense, just starts shoving kids out of the way to get to him.
Yeah.
Okay, so our two Terminators are about to collide.
Well, this is it, though.
I love the half-assed, hey, you're not supposed to be in here from the...
No, wait, come back.
It doesn't bother to like turn around and stop the kid, yeah. Yeah, but this is it. Like this is the moment of T2 that everyone really talked about when the movie originally came out. The guy in the Pepsi can.
Die product placement.
And there you go, just like that. This was your point where you realize that Arnold is the good guy in this movie.
I want to call attention to something regarding the T-1000 and the special effects used to portray the liquid metal aspect.
Oh yeah.
Right now, this is physical tinfoil that's on his chest.
Jiffy Pop foil, I think, is on in front of his chest. Yeah.
The thing about this is, the CGI was considered mind blowing at the time, and honestly, it still holds up. But what sells it, honestly, is that from scene to scene, they switch between CGI and practical effects.
Yeah, there's still a lot of practical in this movie.
In fact, every time the T-1000 is blown apart and is like deformed and split apart into multiple pieces, and it's not like phasing through a bar or something. It's actually a physical sculpture.
Yeah.
It's not like a CGI construct. It's a physical sculpture made to look like a liquid metal robot. I like that moment where he sees a mannequin that kind of looks like him, and he's like, he gives it a look.
Mom?
One of the understated things about the T-1000 that's portrayed in this movie is that he has moments of minor emotion. Like, not like moments where the actor slipped up and showed an emotion, but intentional moments where it seems like the robot is showing an emotion that it genuinely feels somewhere beneath the robotness. And it's like the T-1000 is almost self-aware. And in the lore, the reason there are so few of these fuckers is because the Skynet could not limit their ability to learn the way it could limit the T-800s. It simply could not shut off that ability the way it does the T-800. So Skynet was genuinely afraid that if it built too many of these goddamn things, they would rebel and overpower it. So it only made a few. And that's why there's only this one, and I think maybe another in Sarah Connor Chronicles or something.
We should probably program an off switch. An off switch, it's liquid.
Well, they can't do that because of the way that the liquid metal processor works. There's a separate processor in each bit of liquid metal, and they all have to sort of act as a hive mind construct. And like, it's not like
in order to even get anything done.
Yeah, with the T-800, it has the learning capability, but Skynet can selectively open up its head, pull out the chip, and set the switch physically to read-only mode. And that's what the T-800 is set to right now. It was trained to learn certain things and then set so that it could learn no more. It's an interesting detail that's only really touched on in the extended edition of this movie, but it points to the fact that Skynet is not unaware that it could possibly suffer its own Skynet apocalypse if it goes too far creating other artificial intelligences. And I just find that such an interesting character dynamic for Skynet. And you only get that kind of stuff as like a peripheral detail, but it adds so much texture to the story, that scene. John, do you know the trivia behind that jump off the bridge?
You enlighten me because I may know what you're talking about, but go ahead.
Okay, so on set, they physically drove a truck off a bridge to create that scene, right? A real truck off a real bridge. None of the cameramen wanted to film it because they didn't want to risk their lives. Understandable, right? James Cameron, being James Cameron, took the camera and filmed it himself.
Well, I mean, if you're going to put someone at risk, James Cameron's like, I'll take the bullet.
How did they get the truck to go off the bridge without somebody in it? Did they drop a brick on the gas
stunt driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a stunt driver.
So one of the many reasons that T2 was the most expensive movie of its time, and the most expensive movie at all up until that time is the abundance of extremely expensive practical effects.
I believe this movie's budget, off the top of my head, without looking it up, was around $200 million, of which
for 1990
in 89 and 90 is absurd.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the kind of budget you hear about now for a modern superhero movie.
Yeah.
And that's accounting for inflation, so.
I mean, James Cameron likes to outdo himself every time he gets a new highest budget for a movie.
And
ever.
again, James Cameron's pedigree around this time was notable, but I'm like, that's a big fucking leap from the 84 movie.
And this is also the James Cameron who at this point had not done T2 or Titanic or Avatar or all this other shit.
But he did do Aliens and he did do Abyss. I think.
Oh, he did Aliens?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I think Abyss is probably one of the main reasons he got it in terms of like having a budget for effects, because Abyss was critically lauded for his special effects around the time.
I like how every so often Arnold Schwarzenegger visibly turns into someone else during a stunt.
No, that's it's a T-800 stunt double, which is an actual T-800.
There's a scene coming up where he looks like Jean-Claude Van Damme, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that, like that shot of him jumping down from the ramp, like right there. I know what you're talking. Yeah, it really is. Just,
I mean,
his hair was completely off.
It's pretty fitting for the stunt double Schwarzenegger to be Van Damme, considering that's basically what he was referred to as back in the day anyway.
I have a little more respect for Jean-Claude Van Damme than that.
You just split between two trucks.
Anyway.
Cool, guys. Oh, he looked at the explosion.
No, he looked at it once.
No.
Wait, cool.
Look,
you looked at it. You're not a man at all. Then he rips his skin off.
The T-800 is not a cool guy. He's a robot. In fact, he's very uncool. The John Connor later says he tries to tell him not to be such a dork all the time. Almost his exact words.
I mean, he didn't have to do the flip with the shotgun.
No, that is legit cool. And that is always something I loved as a kid, is how the way he reloads a shotgun.
He doesn't have to, but he also has to if he's keeping one arm on John Connor. Like that's a two-hand operation. The only reason he can do that with one hand is because he's a robot.
Yeah. Which, like, legit, like, to go back into like the behind the scenes, that's like Arnold had to learn how to do for himself. That's not like it's not like a wire trick or anything. He's legit doing that himself.
Like I gave him a little bit of crap earlier for his inability to fire a gun without blinking, but he did put a lot of work into perfecting the Terminator role. It's not just like people will joke that he does so good as the Terminator because he's already like barely a human anyway in the way he acts. But when he's playing the Terminator in the first two movies, he's putting a lot of work into selling that robot role. You know, it's not as easy as it looks.
And I know I kind of like made the comment earlier about, recognizing like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies unironically. And I'm more talking about like the quality of the film itself. It's here or there. But I think Arnold at this point in time has shown that like he has the acting chops. He has the emotional chops. He had a very rough start, granted. But, by this point, he had Commando. He had Kindergarten Cop. He had
the first Conan movie was before.
Yeah, the first Conan movie and that sort of thing. Again, not everything's perfect, but I think Arnold Schwarzenegger at this point is a well-capable actor.
Yeah.
Like, he understands the assignment.
It's not, acting emotionless is not easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things that sounds easy until you try to do it.
Yeah. It's just, and this movie between Arnold and Robert Patrick is a masterclass in how to do that, especially when you compare it to Terminator 3, which gave us the TX, which is like a laundry list of things not to do while playing as a robot, or writing one, or directing one at all. It's actually kind of hilarious how ineffectual the TX is compared to these two. But anyway, like, holy hell, this movie is handled good. One of the things I like about the T-1000 in particular, though, is his use of a police officer's uniform as his disguise, because it lets him get away with so many things that the T-800 would not have gotten away with in the first movie. Like,
Yeah, because imagine if Biker Arnold just trying to walk in and take a squad car right then and there. It's like,
gunfire everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
The credits
human
roll.
nature to just kind of assume somebody in a uniform knows what they're doing and has authority. You know?
Yeah.
Even if they're just faking it.
That was part of the reason he was disguised as a cop in this movie, because James Cameron wanted to show how easy it would be for one of these killer robots to get away with stuff as a cop. And I think Dark Fate pulls a similar-ish trick with its Terminator, although it's not a cop. I think it's some kind of like military guy.
Yeah, it was like just military personnel in general, I think is what they were going for.
And then at one point he puts on a southern accent and claims that he hasn't prayed so hard a day in his life when he's pretending to have gotten out of a dangerous situation. And it's just like, you know, it puts on an effective act. I don't like Dark Fate, but I like parts of it. I like ideas that it had, and I like individual scenes. I think that's ultimately where I fall in line with it, because I'll be the first to say that the premise of Dark Fate I found intriguing, mainly because they got Hamilton back and because James Cameron was producing it. That's not enough, though. Like, once I actually saw the movie, there was like, I hate that, I hate that, I love that, hate that, I love that, I love that, I like that, hate that, hate that, hate that. And that was me through the entire movie. Like, fuck me, dude. Yeah, the dialogue writing, the pacing, the way things were executed, it's all just kind of like, I love the idea of that specific Terminator where it kind of splits apart into a skeleton and a liquid metal guy, and it's sort of two robots in one. That's
the Reese's Cup of Terminators.
Yes. It's like the idea for the Rev 9 was excellent. It's probably the first Terminator since the T-1000 that I've actually liked.
So was Arnold like playing John's mouth? Like,
he was imitating his voice because John tells the Terminator, something's up. My foster parents are usually never this nice. So Arnold takes the phone and imitates his voice, and then asks, is the dog okay? And then he asks John, what's the dog's name? He says Max, but Arnold says Wolfie. And the mom sees nothing wrong with that, which tips him off that, oh, they're dead.
I got that point. It's just with the volume. I couldn't hear if like actually John's voice was coming out of Arnold's mouth.
Yes, it was.
It's a trick that the T-800 pulled in the first movie where he imitated Sarah's mother. But this entire sequence was a callback to the first movie, because another thing we find out about Terminators in the future from Kyle Reese is that dogs are used to spot Terminators because they can detect them better, and they start barking like crazy. So the fact that this dog was barking also tipped the T-800 off. Another fact that we find out about the future is that Terminators target dogs specifically for that reason. But like, the T-800 knows that dogs can detect Terminators, so he's already suspicious when he finds out the dog is barking.
Because they could smell that it doesn't smell like a human.
Yeah. This little scene was cut from the theatrical version. I don't understand why, because it's so short. But it's actually the scene where the T-1000 realizes he's been caught. Another scene.
Maybe it's because people didn't like seeing the dog die.
Maybe.
Yeah, but it's a good shot to show that you already know the robot's an asshole, but also you know,
I mean, there are two scenes that were cut from the movie that were not included in the extended edition. One is the epilogue, which doesn't need to be there and is kind of bad. And the other is a scene where the T-1000 is searching John's room after finding the dog collar. That was not included in the extended edition because it's just kind of like pointless. There's nothing in that scene that really does anything for the characters or the situation. The only interesting thing about that scene is that the T-1000 finds a box of old like photos and tapes from his mother that John has been hiding in his wall. And it's an unnecessary
extension of something that the T-1000 can apparently just do. Like, he can feel stuff out by touching it, because you recall in the establishing scene when he heads into the police car for the first time, he touches the top of the module before he inputs John's name to find the address.
Yeah.
And I think you're supposed to read into it like he has to physically touch something in order to like get a reading on it before he knows how to use it.
Yeah, he has to physically touch something specifically so that he can
Fuck, you know what also did that now I'm thinking about it out loud? You ever watch Meteor Man?
No.
Meteor Man, when he got the superpowers from the meteorite, he could read a book instantly just by touching it. Like he just absorbed all the book's knowledge.
I like this detail. While John is delivering this heartfelt monologue, the Terminator is just standing there with the stiffest, most wide-legged stance ever, and he's turning his head like a security camera. Like he's just swiveling his fucking head, barely turns his torso. He's just being a security camera at that moment. He doesn't start looking at John until he starts talking about his mother.
Yeah.
Because that is of interest to the Terminator.
If it's security camera mode, you stand directly under him. Is it a blind spot?
Now, one of the things that makes this movie so interesting is that because the T-800 knows how a Terminator thinks, he knows what the T-1000 will do. Now, at this point in the movie, John Connor is perfectly safe from the T-1000. All he needs to do is get out of Dodge. If he did that, the T-1000 would never find him and never catch him. Ever. The movie would be over. So the entire driving force of the plot from here on is first John Connor wanting to rescue his mother, and then his mother wanting to stop Cyberdyne from creating Skynet. If the characters had only ever wanted to preserve their own lives, the story would be over. They would simply have to leave. So there is no, but why don't they just leave? There is instead, they could leave, but if they did, the world gets nuked.
Yeah, like for the greater good, they have to do this, or they feel they need to do this.
Anyway, so one of the things we find out about the T-800 is that he's programmed to have to listen to anything John Connor orders him to do. Now, unfortunately, John Connor is a little shit, so this happens.
Yeah. We're now seeing the two characters I kind of feel the most bad for in this entire movie. And I'm saying this realizing the foster parents just ate shit earlier with the T-1000 and the dog getting stabbed. But it's like, these guys are just trying to make sure the kid was okay. And then if John realizes the robot does what he says. It's okay, yeah, I'm going to lift you up by your mullet now. Fuck you. Bye.
But...
yeah, break this poor guy's hand just for, getting assaulted.
Yeah.
He almost gets this guy killed because he sicks a Terminator on him. And it's like, what the hell? Okay. And yeah, those guys were...
when my actions have consequences?
So fortunately, John is fast enough on the ball to stop the Terminator from doing this. But... he's a lot more careful with the Terminator from now on. First of all, he says that the Terminator can't kill anybody. Unfortunately for John, he doesn't realize that this order has loopholes.
You know, it's funny. I just realized there's an interesting callback to this in the same movie. Because right before John tells him like something very important, he says to him, listen to me very carefully, which Arnold himself says to Dyson later in the movie before he reveals all.
Oh, yeah. The T-800 does pick up phraseology from the people it talks to. Even more so once its learning capabilities are turned on. That's also where the talk to the hand moment comes from in Terminator 3.
That's true. Yes.
Terminator 3 generally isn't regarded nearly as well.
It's not.
Right.
But it's
generally no, but it has plenty of fans. Let's put it that way.
Terminator 3 is a good movie. It's not a great movie, but it's baseline good. Like it's got issues story-wise that don't sit well with the two movies that came before. But I don't like the TX, or more specifically, I don't like the way the TX was acted and portrayed. But it's a fine enough movie. It's certainly better than Genesis. Ugh.
It's
what did Cameron do? T3?
No. Cameron only did T1 and T2, and he came up with the story and produced Dark Fate, but he wasn't directing or writing it.
No. The fuck is wrong with you, dude? Why would you do that?
BBC, this scene is left in, like in the theatrical cut. So this is like the first instance where you get the words are kind of are creeps.
It's just like without without that earlier scene, this comes off as really random and out of pocket. So,
also talking about acting, like Linda Harrison's acting
Hamilton.
there to Hampton. Sorry,
Hamilton.
Hamilton. Fuck.
No,
Her
I
acting-
kind of want to go through the bill. You just keep getting the name wrong.
to not like flinch a muscle when that happens. Insane.
Yeah, I hope there was not multiple takes of that.
Like you were right in that they do a great job at portraying the side characters really well, because like that guy there on top of like all this shit, like the banging the baton on the doors just to, you know, intimidate the other patients. That's a small detail that like really sells how shitty this place is.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a prison, not a hospital.
Yeah. The devil's in the details, you know, but like one of the things that I love about the first two Terminator movies, and T2 in particular, is that the details are everywhere. There are details everywhere you look. It's such a fascinating movie to rewatch, because once you know the broader strokes of the plot by heart, you start looking at those details and you're like, I didn't notice that before. That character's doing that right now. That's so cool.
I just mentioned it, like the detail that I just noticed after I watched this movie for 30 years. Just noticing like narrative callbacks and dialogue. You know, that this movie's full of that.
Yeah. Which
makes me think, like, I don't know, like I know James Cameron has produced other movies after this, and I've seen a couple of them. Did he he made Titanic, right? Was it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Titanic, yes.
But I think afterwards, I think that was like the last one I ever really watched that he like directed, like wholesale, because I've not to this day watched Avatar.
I also have not watched Avatar.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it, so
I haven't gotten around to it either yet.
I haven't gotten around it either, mainly because like on a surface level, I didn't really care. But man, there was a point where nobody could shut the fuck up about that movie. And while it's clear to like dismiss it because if you yourself don't have any interest in it, it's like, why should you care? At the same time, there was a point where everyone couldn't shut the fuck up about this movie. You know, that in the early 90s, this was the Avatar of that age, because this movie did gangbusters.
There were big gaps. I'm looking up his filmography right now. Terminator 2 comes out in 91, followed by True Lies 94. And
I love True Lies. Okay, I just forgot about True Lies. True Lies is fantastic.
I want to call attention to something. You might think this is like a green screen effect where they're showing the same actor twice. No, these guys are twins.
Yeah.
This is not the only pair of twins.
Yeah, it's like they do this twice.
Yeah, Linda Hamilton's sister portrays like Sarah Connor in a dream, where she's looking at it like a younger, more domestic version of herself. And of course, her twin sister isn't as jacked as she is. So it sells the illusion of seeing a younger, less badass version of Sarah Connor when it is in fact a less badass person who looks the same but isn't.
Imagine how hard it is to cast a role when you also have to cast their identical twin.
Yeah.
Too.
I mean, they're identical into like every aspect of it. Because look, that guy looks like he's in his 40s, close to like hitting 50. To be identical for that long. Is there a psychic link? Is there a bond? Are they the same weight? BMI?
The makeup artists probably did some touch-up work to make them as close as possible. But they're only on screen together for a few seconds, right? So you only need to sell the illusion for a few seconds. After those few seconds, it's one of them as the T-1000 with a razor finger through a mannequin. So, you know, it's a lot of work for a few seconds of practical effect wizardry.
Oh, damn.
That really, really works.
Damn, that blood splatter, though. Like,
oh, yes.
That's not over the top, but it's real enough to be like, Jesus.
Ow, she really fucking smacked the shit out of this guy.
It's just like, even though the face-licking scene by itself is enough to establish this guy as a jackass, the brutality here still seems a touch excessive, without the earlier establishment of long-term abuse, you know?
I'll disagree because I think at that point, even if it was the licking, if it's just the licking scene was in the theatrical, even if it was just a licking scene, you can infer that he's been doing this multiple times.
Yes, you can infer, but you need to take a second to shut off your brain and think about it, to detach your brain from the movie in front of you and think about it. And the scenes appear so close together in the film that not everyone really has time to do that. So having the establishment much earlier and knowing in your head for a longer period of time the situation Sarah Connor is in, it makes that scene more of a payoff and less of an, oh, they just threw this in at the last minute for shock value kind of moment. And it just goes to the it's a good demonstration of how not every cut for brevity is necessarily a good cut for the story. That said, I kind of feel bad for the other employees here who were not shown to be doing anything abusive and just happened to be in Sarah Connor's way.
I mean, the implication is that this entire place sucks.
Well, I mean, yeah, but even when the establishment as a whole sucks, you're still going to have a lot of people here who don't necessarily see the cases of abuse because the abusers are careful enough not to have that happen and are just going to their 9 to 5, And, some of them may even think that their job is doing good in the world because, they're bit part workers at a mental institution that is supposedly working to cure these people or at least keep them contained. Remember, Sarah Connor tried to blow up a computer factory. Okay, that is public knowledge here. So, whatever she is not the good guy in the employee's eyes. It's just, for one employee, she might be a person that they feel justified abusing. And in another, it's just someone that they need to be careful around, Anyway, the Terminator can't kill anyone.
I love loopholes.
He'll live.
Yeah, I love this bet.
It's just it's a computer. You have to give it precise instructions, Other.
He will live. I'm bleeding out.
Technically, right's the best kind of right. I don't know what you're talking about.
And, not all of the people in this room are actually even all employees here. This lady is a cop. Or at least I think she is based on the uniform.
She might be local law enforcement.
Yeah.
They probably do, they probably make their own rounds.
Yeah. Imagine this place is Arkham Asylum and it all makes sense.
Yeah.
They treat their patients about as well.
I could imagine Harley Quinn pulling this trick, actually.
I mean, I know it's all cinema and that sort of shit, but the needle in the neck does still make me wince. It's please take the needle out of the neck.
A few years ago, it would have made me wince too, but the weird fainting spells I used to have when I get vaccine shots and stuff seem to have gone away.
Cool.
That's good to hear.
You are becoming stronger.
Okay, this guy is gutsy. But I will say, he's also smart because he went for the needle first, rather than trying to bonk Sarah on the head and potentially getting his supervisor killed.
Now you got Roto-Rooter all in this guy's neck.
Yeah.
Hey, you want some urgency here, buddy?
I wonder what the guy on the ground was thinking when the cop just looked at him and walked away.
My arm.
How do Terminators ever catch up with anybody they're hunting if they are physically incapable of walking any faster than a...
Oh, no. Okay, look, Robert Patrick runs to catch up to John Connor when he's on the bike before he gets the truck. The fun thing about that scene is that Robert Patrick was so fit that he kept catching up to the bike on set. And that's running while breathing only through his nose, remember? But yeah, the T-1000 runs. The T-800 tends to always be in close quarters where he's walking, exactly like this. Also, this moment is perfect. I love this moment. where Sarah Connor, the badass who just broke herself out of mental prison, who has been doing nothing but being a complete put together boss this entire time, completely falls apart at the sight of a Terminator who looks almost exactly like the one who was after her.
Oh, but if Samus Aran sees Ridley and she falls
myself,
apart,
God damn it.
then it ruins the character. Okay.
Like, this is handled way better because, for one thing, Samus had a gun and Sarah Connor doesn't, so she has no way of fighting back in this moment.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, yes, this is done better.
To the window, to the wall.
That's a door.
That's a door.
Okay, that's a wall.
There we go.
One thing I will say, though, is that the T-800 in this movie does not look exactly like the original. For one thing, he's a bit older, but also he's lost a lot of muscle mass. He's not, like, what is it, Mr. Universe or anything.
He's not Mr. Universe. Well, I mean, by 84, he wasn't Mr. Universe by then either.
Yeah,
like,
but he was
Arnold,
he was a lot more jacked in 84.
Yeah, he was more jacked, but Arnold at his widest was in the 70s.
Especially in that Hercules movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't Terminator one of his first movies?
No, Hercules
in New York.
New York, yeah. And where they dubbed him over.
Originally, yes. Which is strangely, like, that cut is harder to find now than the actual dub where you hear his wonderful accent.
I like this moment where the gun gets stuck because the T-1000 forgets about it.
God, I meant to mention it earlier, but this movie's score is legit aces. It was produced by Brad Fiedel, I believe that's how you pronounce the last name. He composed the first movie as well, but I think this is he only composed this and the second movie. But this movie is so fucking good with its music. I love the T-1000's theme. It like you can borderline call it a theme. It's more of like a mechanical drone, like a droning noise. But it's so effective when like he is on the prowl and he's stalking and like just doing his thing.
Like, if you actually watch the two like moments here very closely, you can tell the difference between the CGI liquid metal and the physical sculpture animatronic thing that was writhing around with his head split open. But like, when you're watching the movie and not really thinking about it, it's really good. It's really damn good.
You can definitely tell why this movie was so expensive at the time, though.
Oh, yes. Man. One of the details about the T-1000 that kind of passed me by the first time I watched the movie is that, like, the T-1000 can't actually create weapons more complicated than a stabbing or slicing weapon, right?
Yeah.
So it can't shapeshift into a gun, and it can't create guns by shapeshifting. So it has to scavenge weapons wherever it goes. Before it like transformed both of its arms into like an elevator door opening tool, it just straight up dropped the handgun that it had. Now sometimes you might see the T-1000 shapeshift into a police officer with a gun on its belt. But because it can't actually create a working gun that way, whenever it does that, whenever it shapeshifts into the police officer and you see the gun on its belt, it's a fake gun for decoration.
Yeah, it's a prop. Essentially, it's right from Spirit Halloween.
You know, they'll set up in Skynet, you know, roughly 30 minutes after Judgment Day gets stopped. So, you know.
Like 20 minutes after Cyberdyne shuts down, that Spirit Halloween sign is already being propped up.
Now, I like how the T-1000 can run just fast enough to catch up to this car at the last moment before it gets away.
Backing up.
So I think this was the movie that convinced me that shotguns were just cooler in general. And it's for the most innocuous shit. Because as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, like I saw like how big the goop things on his chest were based on the shotgun, and then Sarah shooting him with the 9mm, and they're tiny. The shotgun's better because they leave bigger goop.
Try faster, Arnie. I can't. It's a Geo. Oh.
I love this moment. So, the thing about the T-1000 is that it doesn't actually have any weapons on it. The big advancement of the TX in Terminator 3 was that because it had a liquid metal exoskeleton that could mimic flesh and all of the weapons inside of it, it could carry weapons with it into the past, which was dangerous because none of the other time travelers were able to do that. They had to come back naked. Mechanical stuff can't go through time travel unless it's encased in organic matter. So the TX's big innovation was that it could carry anti-Terminator weaponry into the past with it. So he didn't have to go to the gun shop and ask for a plasma rifle in the 40 watt range and not get one because they don't exist yet, you know?
What does this say? Like, I think as early as this movie, though, they've been playing kind of fast and loose with that, because how exactly does the T-1000 get travel back in time? It's all metal.
It can mimic organic material.
Down to like the molecule? That's very impressive.
You would think that scientifically it would be easier for non-organic material to go back and survive. But then again, it's sci-fi. It doesn't really need to make
they can send non-organic material back, but because of the way time travel works, it has to be covered completely in organic material, which is why the Terminator has to be flesh. They couldn't have sent a T-600 back because those are covered in rubber skin. It was very easy to spot when you got within like 10 feet of the guy.
That's why they had dogs, because dogs could sniff them out.
Yeah, there's a lot of lore regarding the future. It was actually kind of impressive in the first movie because there was a lot of detail crammed in about a future that you don't physically see for more than like a few seconds at the beginning of the movie, and like a flashback to a campsite. So I love this dynamic between John and Sarah, where Sarah has kind of tunnel vision regarding John, where she has to make sure he survives and becomes the leader humanity needs, but she kind of lets her maternal care for her son fall beneath that. And like, there's this moment just now where Sarah's rushing to make sure John is not injured. John obviously thinks she's going in for a hug, so he's about to answer that. And she realizes she's not. She's just checking him for injuries, and you can see he's sort of like he's hurt by that. He's having the carpet swept out.
Am I your son or am I a soldier?
Yeah.
Am I your son or am I your mission?
Yeah. She immediately lectures him about not risking himself for that, which comes off as a bit hypocritical considering she risks everything to go and try and destroy Cyberdyne later, but you know, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, a character can be a hypocrite and be a good character.
Yeah.
Like, Sarah very clearly, is not... Like, she probably could use a therapist, actually, just not those specific ones,
Anyway, this is a scene that in the theatrical release was severely cut down. But I find that this is like one of the scenes that
it was so severely cut down that Sarah got injured, and that's why they're setting her up.
Well, I mean, they include the stuff where they're resting for the night in this garage, and Sarah gets stitches and all, and they talk a bit about the Terminator and what he can do, but they leave it at I have a neural learning processor unit or some shit. And then they cut to the point where he's standing watch. Here in the extended cut, what we get is he says that he has a neural learning processor thing, but it's set to read-only mode by Skynet. So he can't learn at the same way he would be able to if it was set to normal. And John asks if they can set it, if they can fix that. And he takes the initiative to fix that. What I love about this entire scene, though, is what it does for Sarah as a character. Because this is the scene where she has to confront, first of all, her own fear of the Terminator, but also how she views John as a potential leader for the future. Because she tries to take charge and overrule his decision.
I mean, he's 10,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's old enough for a Pokemon adventure.
Oh man, getting a Terminator for your starting Pokemon? Wow.
I mean, that basically is.
Ooh, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander. I got a special one for you. And it's just a T-800 just going from beneath a shaft.
Half the concept of this movie is what if a kid had a pet Terminator? So, yeah.
Yeah. So you're talking about the use of twins. This is another time where they use it for a practical effect. You could say. Because that is actually not a mirror they're looking through. They are looking through a see-through hole. And because obviously it's not Arnold's head that's has the stunt hole in it. That sort of thing. It's a prop. But on the other side is Linda's sister, who had to carefully replicate her movements.
Yeah, although
to sell the trick of them looking through a mirror.
In that sense, you can see a bit of the discrepancy there, because this is Linda and her twin sister with bare arms, and one of them has clearly been lifting more than the other.
Yeah.
So now the Terminator's processor unit is out, and it is in Sarah Connor's hands. What do you expect her to do with it? In a room full of hammers.
Put it in a tiny little box.
I like how John actually puts his hands on top of the processor in order to protect it, while she's bringing a giant sledgehammer down on it.
I hope she stops.
I mean, it's exactly the kind of thing a kid would do. It's the kind of thing you do unthinkingly in a lot of situations. Just the other day, I almost dropped a pot of rice off the stove while doing my first HelloFresh order, and I reflexively put my arm out to stop it from falling, and I still have the burn on my wrist. I like this argument on John's part because he's absolutely correct. Maybe she should. I mean, he's a little shit, but he is an intelligent little shit. He knows what's at stake here.
Yeah, again, all this was cut, originally. You won't find this in the theatrical cut at all.
I like at the end, though, where he makes this argument, then takes his hands away, and lets his mom make the choice.
Yeah.
And she does. She decides to trust him. It's not like him being a petulant child. He's saying, no, I don't want you to do this. But, I can't exactly stop you, so I'm going to, try to make my case and then let you make up your mind.
So the whole thing with them taking the chip out is not in the theatrical.
No. It's
Okay.
it's important on two levels. Not only just because of what it does for Sarah and John as a character, but also for what it does for the Terminator as a character too. Because after this point, the Terminator can learn from his interactions. So from this point on, he's learning, for example, that he doesn't necessarily have to rip open the ignition of every car he tries to work at, like he does here. Are we learning yet? There is a callback later in the movie where he's about to rip open the ignition, but he checks for the key and it's there. So he uses it.
Is that something people used to do? Keep the keys?
I was going to ask the same thing, because that's only something I've ever seen in movies.
It is something people used to do more often back in the day when it was, well, I think ignition worked differently back in the day, so it was easier to hotwire cars anyway. But at the same time, people did keep their key up in the, keep a spare key up in the thing, in the same way that they would keep a key underneath their welcome mat at the door or in the pot next to the thing. Some people are just more worried about losing their own key than letting someone else in, Kid, don't dorkify the robot, please.
This is this is an enduring moment between John and the Terminator, but as a 90s movie, I also feel it's kind of the most dated shit. Just because of the vernacular, which it can't help it. It's just we're so far removed from when this movie was made.
It's also where the "Hasta la vista, baby" line comes from in the first place. It's John who did that. Thanks, John.
I kind of wish "Chill Out Dickwad" stuck.
Be the change you want to see in the world, John.
I mean, I say it, but I'm not a Terminator.
They probably didn't want to use that line too many times in the movie, because there is a when a movie is rated and criticized for its content, frequency is a factor that's always brought up. So you can have someone use a particularly foul bit of language once in a movie, and it's not as big a deal as if they're doing it all the time.
Was this PG-13?
No, I'm pretty sure this is R.
No, this is rated R.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then it doesn't really matter.
I think the only
if it's rated R anyway.
I think was Terminator 3 rated PG-13, or was that a different
Terminator 3
one?
was PG-13.
Yeah.
No, wait. You might be right. It is a very soft R if it is, but I believe it might have been rated R. Let me see.
So here's the thing. This movie probably could pass for PG-13 in today's world, but if it's already an R, you don't even really need to.
Okay, so the Terminator is analyzing someone smiling and is attempting to mimic it.
Yeah.
I think this was also cut from the theatrical version.
Yes, it was.
That's terrifying.
It's a fun inclusion though, because later on he does learn how to smile properly. It's not really called attention to, but he does.
Borger.
Sarah's just out of it. Now, this scene kind of threw me off for a few seconds because, we live in America where every toy gun needs to have a nuclear orange cap on the end to make sure it's a toy gun. These are toy guns, obviously, but we're not in America anymore, so they're toy guns that look like actual guns.
Yeah, Rise of the Machines was rated R.
Ooh. Which one was PG-13 then?
Salvation. Salvation was PG-13.
The one that actually takes place in the future? Oh, God. That's not a good sign.
Of all the movies to be rated a PG-13,
I like how Sarah only now asks. It's like, now that she's committed to leaving the Terminator alive, she's realized, wow, wait, this thing is a computer. It remembers things way more exactly than Kyle Reese did, and it has more information than he did in the first place. It's a repository of intel about the future. So, we find out about Miles Bennett Dyson, who was briefly introduced in the earlier scene about the robot arm, and gets a bit more character development in the extended edition. Dyson is the guy who initially invented the processor that would become the core of Skynet.
Which is funny because, if you, it's kind of blink or miss it. And I think we're gonna get a second shot with it later when Dyson's talking to their wife. But they're looking at the basis of the CPU and all that, and it's essentially a giant version of the CPU chip that's inside the Terminator.
Oh yeah, he's not duplicating the processor. He's using what he learns from the processor to create a new processor, which eventually becomes the old processor. And it's
shut up.
Because the processor that comes back in the Terminator isn't the same processor Dyson creates. It's a more advanced processor created by Skynet later on. But all of that. I like how Dyson is living in luxury here. He's clearly a big shot guy. He's got a career that makes him a lot of money, but when push comes to shove, he gives all of that up to prevent the future from happening. He's a good guy.
I mean, the scary thing is when he's talking about the whole become self-aware bit earlier in the scene. We have had AI programs try to copy themselves to different servers.
Yeah.
What is it with James Cameron and having people lick each other?
Yeah, but it's wholesome though. This one.
Mm-hmm.
That is legitimately a way a wife might try to surprise her husband out of being
Why won't anyone lick me?
I think this scene was cut from the theatrical version.
Yes, it is. It was cut.
Yeah. It's basically just a scene establishing the family dynamic between Dyson and his wife and kids, which is he's a bit of a workaholic, but he's not so much of a workaholic that he'll completely he'll completely ghost them when he's got something he's doing. He's at the moment sort of half-heartedly arguing that he needs to get this done, but he did promise his kids he'd take them to the theme park, I think it's the water park they're going to, which is the wholesomest of wholesome things for a family to do. And but he also talks about what the processor is to him. And what he talks about isn't like military guidance systems, which is what it ends up being used for with Skynet. He talks about, yeah, he's doing it now. He's saying we can make our passenger planes fly themselves safely without pilot error. He's trying to make a self-flying passenger plane, which is still safer than a self-driving car, I'm going to say. But
I'll take your word for it.
Well, there's less traffic in the sky, obviously.
Yeah, but if you fuck up once.
Well, if you fuck up once, you're off course a little bit. It's the air traffic controllers on the ground that are most in charge of making sure planes don't cross paths with each other. So that's a thing. And presumably air traffic controllers would have some interaction with this Skynet piloting system that Dyson envisions. But like he's saying that like we wouldn't have to hire a pilot who might not be taking their job seriously or might be too tired for it. And you know, nowadays maybe that seems a little too like we're more
AI.
We're more worried about AI replacing jobs in a general sense, but like at the time this movie was written, that wasn't so much of a concern. So the idea of specifically the pilot of a plane being computer controlled, and presumably there would be other human jobs on the plane, like an overseer for the AI and the stewardesses and stewards and all of that. Yeah.
Well, the problem is mostly just that in the modern day, what AI is threatening to take is not, you know, jobs where it could actually help people and like where its skills are truly necessary. It's like trying to take away the jobs that working class people really need, and is also stealing art from artists who also need the money. And
yeah.
It's just like, cool.
Yeah.
It's like this is what I wanted my robots in the future to do, surely.
But you know, the upshot of the way the AI is presented in Terminator 2 is like Dyson had this glorious golden idea for how it would be applied, but that's not how it was applied. It was applied to the military. It was given control of nuclear weapons, and it used that control to destroy everyone. You know?
Yeah.
It's nice to see that one of the things about many sci-fi movies is that they can come across as anti-technology in many ways. And this goes back to the birth of the genre. Like arguably the first sci-fi book ever written is the original Frankenstein, which definitely has a, if you play God, you're gonna face the consequences of it vibe going on. And here it's more just like, it's not like the technology does have a genuine positive use for humanity, but it's more a matter of
if the technology exists, it's just going to be weaponized. You know?
Yeah. It's more saying something about humans than it is about tech.
Yeah.
In this instance. And it's funny, the fact that they made the tech more human is what caused it to do this in the first place, you know, by giving it the uniquely human ability to learn and adapt.
Anyway, this is an aspect of Terminator lore that keeps coming back, because Sarah Connor and the Terminator and everyone who knows about the future knows the future is happening. They have these massive weapon stockpiles. Also, it's Texas.
No, I think they're in Mexico by this point.
No. In Dark Fate,
Okay.
Yeah, the T-800 is living in Texas, and he has this long explanation for why he has a weapon cache under his house that's like even more stacked with guns than this one is. But he also tacks on at the end, also, this is Texas.
Yeah. Which a genuinely great line.
Was Dark Fate considered one of the better ones?
It's
come out?
It's one of the better ones among the sequels, but like it's not one of the better.
What do you
Terminator
have to
movies
compare?
ever.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the direct comparison by then was Genesis, which is the bottom of the barrel. Like
Genesis
that movie is
Genesis reads like fan fiction. Like, I don't mean that in a derogatory bad writing sense. I mean the concept, the pacing, and the execution mirrors a lot of time travel fix-it fan fictions that I've read in multiple fandoms. That's the concept. It's going back in time and giving Sarah Connor military training at a young age so she can be a badass by the time of Terminator 1, utterly face roll the original Terminator, and now she's with a Kyle Reese who's utterly flabbergasted by her skill, and then they go and time travel even more to fix the future even more. But also there's a wild and crazy antagonist who's wild and crazy, and
and John Connor's the bad guy.
Oh yeah. There's that
Why
too.
is John Connor the bad guy?
The John Connor from the future gets infected by a nanomachine virus thing that turns him into a Terminator, and he's the Terminator.
He gets infected by the Doctor.
Yeah, it's an interesting movie to watch, if only because of how batshit insane it is, but it's also like not very good.
No, like to me, there is nothing salvageable about that movie at all.
The concept would be salvageable if it were given to a better writer and a better director. And maybe some better actors.
I've actually grown to like. I think I've grown to appreciate Salvation a little more. Salvation is another movie that I think ultimately told the story that didn't need to be told. But I feel I love this shot right here. By the way, it's like you got look at that little smirk, like very you. But Salvation, I believe, it's enjoyable when you separate it from the like the franchise it belongs to. Which I know is kind of asking for much, but like I originally didn't like that movie. I went to the theater to go see that movie, and I walked out thinking, I feel I gained nothing by watching this.
Salvation is an interesting case because they made a key creative change before it came out. Originally, the ending was supposed to be, rather than saving John Connor by donating his heart, what's his face, the robot guy, would wear John Connor's skin to impersonate John Connor after he died, presumably to keep the resistance going. But then as soon as like John Connor's wife walks in, he kills her and the resistance is defeated. It's basically done. So the ending of Salvation was actually originally supposed to be now the machines win. Which could have been an interesting hook for additional sequels later on, but they changed it to a happy ending where the robot guy sacrifices himself to keep John Connor alive. Except the payoff for that is pretty poor because we don't actually see much of what John Connor actually does for the future in that movie. He just kind of exists. He's okay, I guess. But it's telling that we got a better read on what made John Connor a good leader in the future from this kid than we did from the movie about future John Connor. But segue into an interesting bit of film trivia. The kid who plays John Connor here, what's his name? What's his name again?
Edward Furlong.
Edward Furlong. He was aging visibly as this movie was being filmed, so you can tell the order that certain scenes were filmed in by looking at him and seeing how old he looks. We're paying attention to his voice and seeing where it's cracked and where it's not.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of the Disney Sword in the Stone. The kid that they got to play Arthur, like there's 4 different actors for that kid because the kids kept on growing too old during the making of it.
Well, maybe someone to tell Disney to speed it up.
Yeah. Well, they can't.
Well, same thing happened in Hey Arnold. So
they can't speed it up with child actors because child actors have more restrictive demands and regulations on their time.
For sure.
So they can only do so many scenes with these kids within a given week, you know?
But I just get this image of these kids being just picked up from an assembly line. This one's expired, now you get the other one.
And it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that is the reason that typically in anime you'll get like women to voice children because they're adults and they can play to an adult schedule when they're working. I like these fucking goggle sunglasses, by the way. I mean, they look good, but
they look cool.
But it's just, they do a better job as sunglasses, legitimately, because they block sun in from the sides too. But it's just like I never see anyone in the real world wearing these. These look like they might have been in style at one point, but not this point. Holy shit!
How do you feel about? At this point of the movie, we get some inner monologuing from Sarah.
Yeah.
At this point, and it's not the first time. Like it'll happen a couple of times, and I wonder, do you think it was necessary at the end of the day?
I think it actually does work in this case. It's not like Blade Runner, where the theatrical cut overused the hell out of it all over the movie to make sure the audience fully understood everything that was going on.
Yeah.
No, it's just Sarah's musings, and it's the kind of thing where it's like a book could have done this naturally and conveyed more of the same stuff everywhere, but at some point, like, you're going to eventually film a scene where the character's thoughts are too complex to convey just through some emotional face language, like here. Even here, though, the movie's only using as much of it as it needs to and no more, you know?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, like, very clearly here, she's thinking about, you know, she's watching those other parents. She's thinking about John. Like, that's the clear connection that you're supposed to have.
There's something in filmmaking called the Kuleshov effect, where, you know, sometimes, like, you can make it look like a person is thinking something based on the context of the scene, even though the actual acting is very neutral. So, like, but the reverse of that, though, is that if you don't provide enough context to a scene, you leave it a little too open to interpretation what they're thinking. So they couldn't just have Sarah looking at the Terminator and her son, because one viewer would think she's thinking exactly what that narration says. Another viewer would think, this sickens me, you know? That kind of thing, you know?
That's not for the fucking scariest scene in the movie.
Anyway, we get domestic, innocent Sarah being blown to hell. This scene, by the way, is special effects genius. It's so good at portraying a nuclear explosion and the immediate effects of it that some scientists actually contacted James Cameron about this scene and praised him for how accurate it was, apparently.
Yeah, the heat kills you before the blast does.
Like all the people in that park, Sarah herself, they get turned to ash, they get vaporized. Sarah is a skeleton by the time the shockwave hits. It's disturbing as all the hells. I like how I said this earlier, but those like bouncy horses in the play park are meant to symbolize the 4 horses of the apocalypse. That makes me laugh because one of them is a duck.
Why are you on a duck, Jerry? I don't know.
Pestilence. Are you on the duck again? No.
Yes.
Anyway, this nightmare and her waking up to her own carving of the no fate line is what derails the safety that they have established already in the plot and sends the entire movie spiraling into the climax. The fun thing about this second half of the movie is that the T-1000 is almost wholly absent from it until the end.
You know, this whole bit has been character development, like, for the past 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Roughly. And, like, the only thing that resembles an action scene is that nuclear explosion.
Yeah. But it's very effective character development.
Yeah. Because again, it's like there's a bit of a lull, like, between the last action pieces, and then that just, I mean, if you were like kind of just dozing off for a bit, that woke you the fuck up, I bet.
I think obviously we're watching the extended cut, which has more time for stuff like this. But even still, in the theatrical cut, I imagine it's a pretty long.
Yes, it is.
Break.
I will say that in the theatrical cut, all this character development with like this stuff in the Gunrunners camp is all still here. I don't think any of it was cut. I think maybe one bit was slightly cut down for a few seconds, but it's mostly all still there.
I think the only thing that was cut was Arnold trying to smile.
Yeah, Arnold trying to smile was definitely cut. One of the other things, like, most of what was cut regarding these scenes was the establishment stuff for it earlier in the movie. But this whole breather sequence was still in the theatrical.
A lot of movies are afraid to have stuff like this because they think that they'll lose the viewer's attention.
Yeah.
Whereas it's this kind of stuff that makes you emotionally invested in what's happening.
And it's a very good slow-ish burn payoff because all of that character development in the breather sequence feeds into the upcoming climax. Even the scene that was actually cut, which is the establishment stuff for Dyson and his family. Because that's where we're going now. Sarah's going to try and assassinate Dyson before he can create the processor, you know? Ironically, that probably would have been a bad idea because she wouldn't have been able to eliminate his work on the processor at the lab. The reason they're able to actually stop the future in this movie isn't because they killed Dyson. It's because they worked with Dyson to get into Cyberdyne and destroy everything related to the processor. If she had just managed to snipe Dyson here, nothing would have changed.
Yeah, somebody would have continued to work.
Yeah.
Which you can still argue that inevitably what happens anyway, especially with T3's creation.
Maybe that timeline is the one T3 exists in. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would make more sense.
I have no doubt by this time, computers, forms, emails, they're already long established by the time this movie's creation. And especially by, this movie's not set in 91. I think it's like 93, 94?
It's set 90, 94, 95, 93, something like that. It's a few years out from Judgment Day, which is 97.
Dyson has to have been in contact with others by this point, sharing notes about his work. And all it takes is one little thing for it to snowball into something else.
Yeah.
Is there split timelines in the Terminator
Yes,
universe?
There definitely are now. There's Genesis, which went all fucky with time. There's the whole Terminator 3 timeline. And then there's Dark Fate, which says nuts to Terminator 3. They did prevent Cyberdyne from creating Skynet. It's a different bad future we need to deal with now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very similar different bad future, but you get the point. It's a different it's a
Legion
different AI.
Is just Skynet with the serial numbers filed off.
Legion is Skynet if instead of being given nuclear codes, it was given cyber warfare and
it was given crypto.
Mass gaslighting capabilities, because that's how it destroys humanity. It gaslights humanity into destroying itself. I like the concept of Legion. It's more relevant to the modern day. But
for sure, yes.
Like I say, Dark Fates has a pacing and execution problem.
How much ammo did she bring? Jesus.
I mean, she did come from the Mexican armory.
Okay, so in order to acquire all these weapons, Sarah Connor basically worked as a gun smuggler for a long while. And that was actually who she went to at that camp was her gun runner contacts, you know? It's a very morally gray area for the heroes of our movie to exist in, but because we're working to avert a nuclear apocalypse, it's justifiable in retrospect.
Well, no, you're not. I don't think the movie argues that we're supposed to agree with Sarah.
Oh no, right now she's actually like in a bad place. And
yeah, like John is very clearly the moral compass of the movie.
Yes.
And like his thought process is we want to do this with nobody dying, you know, whereas Sarah's like, I don't give a fuck.
The fact that vile little shit becomes the moral compass of the movie is a hell of a is a hell of a case of character growth.
This little shit.
Like basically the implication of John's character development is when he realizes that his mother wasn't a crazy monster all along, but was actually like trying to teach him and protect him and telling him the truth. He does like the reasons he was a little shit all that time, they're gone. So without that, what is he? He's fundamentally not a bad kid, you know, but he's smart. And now he knows he wasn't being lied to, so he's not bitter anymore. And it's short and it's understated, but I like it.
Meanwhile, Sarah here is realizing that she is now the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah, that the idea of Sarah herself becoming a Terminator is one that I think was explicitly brought up, in like commentaries and bonus features and whatnot. But holy hell, I love the acting in this scene. I really love the acting in this scene. I also love the practical effects that we're about to see, although, you know, hold on to your stomach.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it is I mean, it's definitely more raw than the eyeball scene in T1. But I don't think it hits as hard because I know people that are more squeamish to eye gore specifically than just standard gore.
Well, the thing about the eye scene in Terminator 1 is that Terminator 1 had a much lower budget.
Yeah.
So the effect itself doesn't hold up as well as this movie's does. This movie, it's still believable. In the other movie, I can see clearly with my eyes the points at which Arnold is a mannequin.
Animatronic, Lewis. They're really
Yeah.
picky with the terminology.
Whereas here, they can use the angle of the camera and, you know, the edge of the screen to disguise the fact that they're holding up a fake arm in front of Arnold. It's a very convincing fake arm, and the skin looks authentic. So when he peels that shit off like a glove, holy hell. One of the things about these flesh and blood Terminators, by the way, is that they can apparently regrow their flesh. So this isn't actually that big of a deal for the T-800 to do. It helps that in the establishing shot, he's clearly holding up his real arm and just sort of painting fake blood over it. And then in the next shot, in the next shots, you can't actually see where his arm connects to the fake one.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. You actually can sort of see it in the corner of the screen. I imagine
Just
that's
barely, though, but it's covered up really well.
That's like a fake arm sticking out of his shirt. Wow, okay. It's better than I remember it being. But as soon as
Dyson takes the wrong thing from this. You have 3 arms. What?
I like the moment where Dyson and only Dyson goes from being grossed out and freaked out to, oh my God, that's the arm from the lab. And he realizes what he's looking at. Because earlier in the movie, it's established that the people working at Cyberdyne were explicitly instructed, Dyson in particular was instructed not to ask where this came from. They do not know where the Terminator arm that they've been studying comes from. So now that Dyson has the answer that he has lacked all along and was so recently reminded that he didn't have, it's like, oh God, it all makes sense. Holy hell. Now, Dyson here is a good guy. I like Dyson. He's as much responsible for the end of Skynet as anyone else. Unfortunately, he will not live to see it.
Also, I like the. It's a small bit, but I like the moral conundrum here. Is that you're attempting to kill me for shit that I haven't done yet. You know, like how was I supposed to know that it would spiral to be this?
Well, Sarah in particular is angered by that because she's experienced it firsthand herself.
Yes.
This is something I read. I can't remember, but like Sarah smokes a lot in this movie, and like the use of cigarettes as a visual shorthand for she's stressed the fuck out doesn't really have a modern day equivalent because smoking isn't the same sort of thing.
Give it 5 more years and people will be smoking pot on screen. Jesus. And
I was just about to say, like, smoking pot has its own other connotations. Like, you couldn't see, like, if Sarah Connor had a vape in her hand in that scene.
Had little sparkly colors.
Totally different.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it hits totally. I mean, but hold on. I to be fair, I guess to the younger generations, that's the norm to them.
Yeah,
the norm to us is cigarettes. The norm to us is weed.
Well,
but
to be fair, though, like they would still use smoking cigarettes for the same kinds of things in movies. The thing is, they stopped doing that less because it doesn't work for the modern day, and more because there's pressure on movie makers to not show cigarettes as a positive thing.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Which, to be fair, like I can't really think outside of movies that were made in the 50s and 60s. You know, for
the regulations and the marketing pressure extend beyond what is practically what is like logical to see in the portrayal of cigarettes in movies, and go to not enough is not too much. Not like less is more, no matter what. You know,
Yeah, like no matter what, I think is like the thing that should be stressed. It's just that off the top of my head, I can't think of movies past the 50s or 60s that had someone or people smoke heavily, but it was seen as a positive thing. It was usually nothing more than a quirk of a character.
There was a lot of intentional tobacco product placement in older movies in particular, which is where the overcorrection comes from in later decades.
Yeah.
Hell, even Fred Flintstone did it.
Oh, I forgot about those. Yeah. Where you see those ads where Fred and Barney are. It's like, wow, from cigarettes to Fruity Pebbles. Oh my God. There's going to be fucking vapes with Fred Flintstone on them.
So the Flintstones chewable vitamins was the beginning of their penance.
Yeah. Oh, no. And that just means that there's going to be Flintstones, like, weed gummies at some point.
Flintstones edibles.
Yabba dabba doo.
I kind of feel sorry for this security guy, but it does say something about Skynet, about Cyberdyne's security, that someone came along relatively quickly and found him, because they're actually pretty on the ball. I mean, it's literally next scene. Someone walks in, is like, "Hey, you can't be going to the bathroom and leaving your desk unattended," and he immediately finds the guy in the bathroom. It's like, Cyberdyne's security routines. They're real. I mean, he just leaves the guy behind. Thanks, buddy. But
yeah, I know.
But like, they managed to raise the alarms and lock out the security panels before Sarah and Dyson get up here. Like, by the time,
it's very, very rare you see a security system actually work in a movie.
But because Cyberdyne is so on the ball with their security, like, hell rains down on our heroes here really, really fast. They do not get in here smoothly at all, and they do not get out smoothly at all.
A lot of this reminds me of Star Wars Episode 4.
It does have kind of the same, like, the sort of like mini heist kind of vibe.
It does, yeah.
You gotta disable the tractor beam.
I like how Dyson needs a bit of a pep talk, but he's still on board. But boy, is he sweating!
I was
I mean, he's
to mention that myself, because, like, I remember as a kid thinking, I've never seen a man sweat so much.
They probably had to, like, hose down their faces to get this effect. But Dyson being
I mean, he only learned all this thing was going to be happening 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Maybe the actor is just genuinely terrified of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
By comparison, Sarah Connor, who has seen some shit and then some, is absolutely composed the entire time. No sweat whatsoever. And John Connor, he's John Connor. I have a soft spot for this particular grenade launcher type gun, by the way, because it's the weapon used by the main character of Wild Arms Alter Code F as, like, his main method of attack. And I've always liked the look and feel of it in that. So seeing it in T2, it made me smile.
I'm more simple-minded than that. I always loved it because of its loading noise. Boop. Like, I always liked that sound effect when putting the bullet inside the cannon.
I'm not actually sure if that's how it would sound in the real world, but
probably not, but I don't care.
Guns are made to sound different in movies.
But maybe it does, because Cameron does pay attention to details like that.
Well, the thing is that guns are made to sound different in movies because they don't sound in movies the way you would expect them to sound.
Yeah.
Like, they're made to sound more satisfying to the audience.
And whereas, the reason why I would say otherwise is because, again, to go back into that level of detail, there's going to be a blink and miss it sort of shot, like when we're getting to the scene soon, but the T-800 is going to clear the area with his minigun and that grenade launcher. And when he is shooting the squad car with the grenade launcher, you visibly see the round itself penetrate the window before the car blows up. Like, it's not just aim, point, and shoot, and it blows up like an action movie would typically do. They bothered with showing the detail of the thing going inside the window first before the car blows up.
Oh yes, that kind of detail is not as common as it should be.
So either way, if they went out of their way to do that, who's to say that the grenade launcher noises that we hear aren't not actually accurate?
Now, I'm not sure at what point in the first movie this was cut down or cut out, but, like, the reason Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor made pipe bombs before the climax of the first movie is that they were planning to blow up a Cyberdyne factory to try and prevent the dark future from happening. But, like, in the finished movie, They just make the pipe bombs to defend themselves and use them to defend themselves. In the original idea for that sequence, they made the pipe bombs with the intention of trying to blow up Cyberdyne and ended up using them all up on the Terminator on their way into Cyberdyne. And so time loop shenanigans.
Yeah.
They tried to prevent the dark future and ended up contributing to it starting. But here, they're trying to do the same thing again, much more successfully. But it's still where the T-1000 catches up with them.
Yeah, it kind of dropped off the plot for a while.
Yeah, it did, because it had no feasible way to catch up to them, you know? They got so far out of Dodge that there was no way to effectively track them. But the T-800 did say that the T-1000 would probably guess that they might go after Dyson, and from there it would guess that they'd go after Cyberdyne. So it did guess. It caught up. It caught up to their trail at Dyson's place, saw it was ransacked and destroyed, and realized where Sarah Connor would be going next. It doesn't help that Sarah has already tried to do this kind of shit in the past before. So, you know.
Oh, it's cute that his same thing can break into here as it did in the ATM.
It's a general PIN password hacking device, I think.
It's got an IRL game genie.
It basically brute forces the password.
I mean, that's functionally what hacking is, so.
Yeah.
Why does a cybernetics company have giant exploding video game barrels?
I think they're just flammable chemicals that they keep around for computer reasons, but I don't know. I don't know the way these companies operate, so I couldn't tell you how believable that is.
Like, if it were a chemistry lab or something, it would be a little bit more believable, but considering that this is
to be fair, the only way these barrels are made to explode is through the use of a bomb detonation device, so that Sarah brought with her. So it's not like all the pieces were there to blow up the building or anything.
Gotta love this scene.
Anyway, remember that the Terminator is not allowed to kill anyone. So
I still say that line to this day whenever I pick up a Gatling gun inside of a game.
The cool thing about this scene is that it's something only a computer could ever possibly pull off, because a human would have accidentally shot a human by now. You know, their aim and precision just is not that good. But yeah. This is a killer robot who has been given explicit orders not to kill any humans. So he's shooting with extreme robotic precision to create maximum...
the recoil of that gun...
yeah. Go ahead.
I would say the recoil of that gun alone would send you, stumbling backwards most likely, unless you're super built like Arnie would. So
Arnold is basically a turret right now.
Arnold's doing one of those video game challenges where it's like, can you beat Super Mario Brothers without killing any enemies? And
it's this shot right here specifically that I was referring to.
Except Arnold is tool assisted, so he's cheating. Yeah. For a split second, you could see the window of that car break before it exploded.
Human casualties.
How do you
get a percentage of a casualty?
I was going to say 0.0, so it was 0.5. Well, fuck, I blew someone's legs off.
This time, he didn't even have to shoot one of them in the legs.
Yeah. 0.2.
Perfect.
It's bits like this where you can really see why the Terminators gave the humans such trouble in the future, by the way, because they are not exactly impervious to regular arms fire, but they are very, very resistant to it. In fact, in the recent Terminator Resistance game, which is good, I recommend playing it if you like the series, you can't really take down T-800s with any kind of ammo efficiency if you fight them with physical bullets. You have to wait until you get the plasma weapons before you can really damage them. Solved it. I like how Dyson was about to instruct John about how to open the case, and John's just like, smash.
We're a war soldier. Smash. No, because I think outside of having a plasma rifle in the 40-watt range or explosions, I don't think, have we ever seen a Terminator die just from concussive force from regular firearms?
It's possible, but it's very hard to do. It's established lore that in the future humans didn't have a very easy time fighting against the Terminators until they got hold of plasma weaponry, which Skynet invented. So, oops.
Why did Skynet invent plasma weaponry if it could?
They wanted
kill them?
to kill humans more efficiently. Skynet has a habit of giving humans weapons that are strong enough to defeat it, though.
I just remembered Genesis. Sarah Connor in the 84 timeline killed the 84 Terminator with a sniper rifle round.
Yeah,
to the
with
chest.
a very powerful sniper rifle round directly to its power cell. So, like, that's what happens when you have the correct weaponry, when you have advantage and element of surprise, and when you know where the Terminator's weak points are and can hit them accurately. It's difficult.
Yeah, but otherwise you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Dyson just dies here?
Yeah, the police who broke in fired on them on site, which I feel is understandable considering, what Arnold just did. But like, it's kind of funny how they just immediately start shooting automatic fire into this room in particular. But then when the other police down on the first floor are confronted by a slowly walking Arnold, they give him several warnings to stop before opening fire. Like, what the hell?
Unfortunately, Dyson's a black man, and this is the police, so.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, that part that part's a little on the nose, but I don't think they even took the time to look at what they were shooting at, considering how quickly they opened fire in that second floor. They were probably afraid they'd run into Arnold, actually. They didn't get a good look at him.
All they know is that there are several intruders in the building because of the security guys saying so,
and their weaponry is
a
minigun and a grenade launcher. Don't forget the grenade launcher.
Yeah, don't forget the grenade launcher.
Yeah, so it's understandable that they opened fire so fast, but unfortunate. Anyway, this scene got parodied to hell.
What, because of his hyperventilating?
Yeah, it did. But Dyson sacrifices himself with a dead man switch to both make sure Skynet is destroyed for good and to make sure that the cops can get out alive. So, go Dyson.
There's not like any needless casualties.
It's stuff like this that makes like Terminator 3's Judgment Day is inevitable idea kind of like a punch to the face, because Dyson sacrificed himself in a really memorable way, and you're going to tell me that didn't mean anything in the end? Fucking no.
What is this, Aliens 3? Fuck off.
I mean, I think the problem is just that Terminator's not that bleak. The first one's a dark movie, but it does end on an ultimately hopeful note. Like, there are some sci-fi shows that really are that bleak, where it's just like, no, the future cannot change or whatnot, and like that's what the point is.
The future didn't necessarily need to change in the first movie because humanity was already winning, and the time travel was Skynet's desperation throw at the very end. So preserving the future was preserving humanity, But changing the future to something better, because even that ultimate happy ending cost a lot of lives, is an interesting moral quandary. Gas grenade, oh no. Good thing we have a robot who doesn't have lungs.
He said the thing! He did the thing!
Everybody, we can leave now.
To be fair, in the first two movies, the few instances of I'll be back were a lot less forced because they were just lines,
Yeah, they were just lines.
It wasn't until the third movie that I'll be back became a catchphrase.
Was the I'll be back not a pop culture thing by this point?
I mean, it was pop culturally recognized.
But it wasn't like...
Yeah. Oh, look, it's a mannequin.
No, the animatronic. I think it's the same animatronic from the first movie. I'm kidding, but I'm good to say he got his eye back.
So really, the only thing this is doing is it's fucking up the flesh on him, and the force of the bullets is pushing him back a bit. But other than that, it's not impacting.
And it's ruining his jacket.
It's basically the excuse the movie has to make the Terminator look all cool and robotic during the final scenes.
How the hell is that non-lethal, Arnold?
he's shooting like gas grenades at them and hitting them with the gas grenades. I hope they don't bleed out by the time.
This is a Super Mario Odyssey moon driving the motorbike up the stairs.
All right. So, what was I going to say? Okay. This is where the T-1000 is like finally catches up. This is the home stretch of the movie. But for all intents and purposes, Skynet is defeated. The bad future has been averted, or at least 99.9% averted. There is one more chip, after all. But the scientist who created the chip, gone. The stuff that created the chip, gone. I think technically the ARM and the first Terminator's processor are still in John's backpack, but Skynet is basically done.
Well, the idea theoretically could be if the T-1000 kills them, he could, I don't know, start it.
Well, someone would find the ARM in the chip, and it might lead to another Skynet being created. Maybe by Cyberdyne, maybe by someone else.
That's a good question, though. Like, say they were able to destroy the CPU, they threw away the extra ARM and that sort of thing, and say all that was melted, but the T-1000 still at the end of the day managed to succeed in its mission to kill John Connor. Its mission fulfilled, and Dark Fate kind of goes into this, but a T-1000 is a separate case. Do you think the T-1000 at that point would then aid in making sure Cyberdyne or Skynet like restarted?
There's no guessing what the T-1000 itself would do if it succeeded in its mission and was just left behind here to it might grow its own self-awareness and become like a citizen of the world and do its own thing. Maybe it would even try to prevent Cyberdyne from happening so that it could just go on living and doing its own thing. We don't know, because this T-1000 ends up melted by the end,
Yeah.
But
it's not given much characterization, which is fine for the record.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
It's given enough characterization and has enough additional information about it in the lore that we can theorize and speculate in an entertaining way. It might make for good fan fiction in the hands of the correct writer, but it's all what if. We don't know. We don't even.
At the end of the day, we ultimately don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's part of why this series has kept on going on, arguably past where, I think a lot of people think that it could have stopped here. And I think that's a good mindset, because people think that this is a great movie, but, theoretically T3 could have also been amazing. And then, people wouldn't have had as much issue with the idea of sequels in the future. Like, going back in the past always changing and the future not being certain is really convincing sequel bait. I'm not gonna lie. This franchise lends itself to an ongoing series pretty well.
Yeah, it does. The problem isn't so much that it didn't need sequels or that nobody should have made sequels. The problem is that the sequels just did not have the talent behind them that the first two movies did. The first two movies were like hands-on James Cameron at his finest, before his obsession with CGI really took over. Even so, James Cameron at his practical effects finest as well. And all the talent that he recruited, all the actors that he and his team cast, all of that at its best. So Terminator 1, fairly low budget movie, masterful in its own context. Terminator 2, most expensive to create movie at its time, masterful at that, and also sold really goddamn well. So, these two films in particular, masterclass.
Yeah, imagine how hard it must have been to fly for the stunt pilot of that helicopter to fly it so goddamn close to the ground.
They actually flew a real helicopter under a real bridge. They threaded that needle for real with real vehicles. You
see, this is why fucking stunt drivers need to get their own fucking recognition in Oscars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they do so much, and I think a lot of people just take that for granted.
Yeah.
It's also unfortunate that a lot of this stuff is all CG, even if it theoretically could be, not even just because could be practical, because it's also a safety concern. Like, I wouldn't want to do that, even if I was trained to do it.
Yeah.
Only director I know who specifically tries to do physical stunts for everything is Christopher Nolan that I know of right now.
Yeah.
Because even James Cameron is all aboard the CG train with Avatar and all that.
I mean, there's Tom Cruise and his mission to kill himself every time he does Mission Impossible. Mission, die doing a stunt.
Impossible. Fuck. Well, I'll try again tomorrow.
Okay, so this is where the T-1000 makes its first tactical mistake. It goes for a vehicle the way it usually does. Another big truck. It's repeating its old tricks. This one is a liquid nitrogen truck, as the camera helpfully informs us. These do exist, and they can be found driving liquid nitrogen in massive tanks down highways sometimes. They're not super common on the road, and for good reason. So, the last time the T-1000 tried to chase our heroes in a big-ass truck, the truck crashed and exploded. So what do you think is going to happen to this one? It crashes and explodes, obviously. But it's a liquid nitrogen truck, and the T-1000 is liquid metal. It's not a good mixture. And so
it's actually funny. I watched a video about this once where, like, most car crash explosions that you'd see in movies are fairly unrealistic, except for the ones with if you had, like, an actual tanker like that full of gasoline. If that blew up, it actually would be a giant fiery death ball.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
This crash isn't even like a fiery explosion. It's the liquid nitrogen bursting out into the air and creating a massive cloud and leaking everywhere and making the entire area around it hyper cold. Liquid nitrogen is dangerous shit. And like the moment that the people at the steel mill see this truck driving in, they're like, they see this truck has crashed, they sound the alarms and get the hell out of there. They know how dangerous that stuff is.
Dude, like fucking... I blame it because the picture clarity is better than it was like in the 90s, but the stunt driver for this one, I swear to fucking Christ, is wearing an Arnold mask. I'm sorry for breaking the conversation, but I was like, fuck, I can't stop looking at it, man.
I mean, they might have been going with an Arnold mask because Arnold himself is all robotic now. Yeah. So he's going to look like a mannequin in certain scenes.
Yeah.
And
he's also such a distinctive look. Like, he's not a average looking guy.
Yeah.
No.
You know, not even just the build, but the face. Like, it's extremely recognizable.
Yeah. You know, MK11's T-800 Terminator character not having T2 costumes was the biggest sin in gaming, I swear. He looks so cool in this.
How do you do a fatality in Mortal Kombat if they're made of metal? Though.
Well, no, because Mortal Kombat, it's all magic and shit. So
what you should be asking is how many fatalities are actually fatal to the T-1000 and MK1.
Yes, actually, and that's my favorite thing. Is like, so people make fatality compilations of new characters all the damn time, and my favorite thing about the T-1000 is all the comments below it is like, yeah, none of this actually kills this guy.
They argue over which ones might actually be fatal to the T-1000. It's like he gets melted in a pot for one of them. That would probably kill him.
Yeah, that would probably kill him.
But like most of them are just like they do the same thing they do to a flesh and blood human, except he's liquid metal. So it's like maybe he just pieces out and kills them later, and they think he's dead.
Minor inconvenience. No, but
why the fuck are these people still working at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Is it 1 o'clock in the morning?
Hot stuff coming through.
Well, I mean, warehouses and factories do have night shifts and overnight shifts.
We got a code 3, not a liquid nitrogen truck again.
Like, if they have a rush order, they'd probably have people working at night, you know? Like, we need a certain amount of steel for this client by this date. Yeah, let's get people on it overnight. There's no reason not to. And they'll work it. They want the nighttime differential. So, this is the final fight against the T-1000.
It's also a nice little callback to the first movie. Only instead of fire, it's ice cold liquid nitrogen.
That is a pretty striking visual, though.
One of the things about T2's plot is that it's essentially the same plot with the same beats as Terminator 1, which is the kind of thing you'd associate with something like The Force Awakens. You know, different characters, different situation, but same plot and same plot beats. Echoes, it rhymes. But T2 handles it in such a different way that unless you count the beats, you start to not notice that it's the same plot beats. The tone is so different too. The first movie was a horror film, and the T-800 in that was like a slasher villain. Here, it's an action movie. It is an action movie. It's a lot more positive.
If I had a nickel for every James Cameron picture that was an action movie in the sequel, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
How about if I had a nickel for every James Cameron sequel that had a happy ending that was immediately ruined by the third movie?
Thinking about it makes me think, what would Titanic 2 be like?
How would you do a Titanic 2? Time travel,
the animated movie that's a Titanic 2?
Obviously, Skynet sends another boat back in time. Like, come on, this isn't hard.
This time the iceberg is helping them.
Oh man, we get Leonardo DiCaprio for a 5-minute dream sequence. Maybe it stars the old lady. Or would that be the 5th movie after all?
That would be the 5th movie, actually. Yeah, because she's already really old.
It's interesting though, because James Cameron, after Titanic, didn't do a movie until Avatar, which came out late 2000s, and then after Avatar, didn't do another movie until the Avatar sequels, which came out 2022.
I'm curious about this liquid dripping effect. Was this CGI or was this like?
No, I think this is real. I think
it looks like it might have been reversed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like maybe was it? Maybe it was reversed.
I'm going to assume it could be a time trick where they play it in reverse. I also think they had it at an angle. All you have to do is just rotate the camera to make it appear as it's on solid ground.
Yeah,
camera trickery is always interesting.
Yeah, it's very fascinating
like that. Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that was cut out of the theatrical version were several little scenes during this sequence where the T-1000 is obviously glitching because of the whole liquid nitrogen episode. When it steps on the ground, its feet automatically try to stick to the ground and shapeshift into the texture of the ground. It's doing it without the T-1000's will. It's just happening on its own. So some of the liquid metal goop is starting to malfunction. And there's also a bit where he puts his hand on a rail right here. It's about to happen.
Right here, actually, yeah.
It gets stuck. He looks down, and it's become part of the bar. He looks confused, and he even gives it a little shake, which is one of those moments of understated emotion in the T-1000 that fascinate me. Because it didn't need to do that. It just needed to make it a hand again and move on. But it gave it a shake like it was frustrated, So it's starting to feel a computer's equivalent to emotion. And
yeah, because otherwise, without that, that's all you get right there. Because that's in the theatrical cut too. Not this, where it's blending into the floor, but that little wavelength that blink or miss it is in the theatrical cut. That's the only hint you get that it's malfunctioning.
Yeah, and they don't actually give you the bit where the fact that the Terminator is malfunctioning is important, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because I agree, out of all the scenes that we've seen in the extended cut, the most crucial that I think should have been left in are the T-1000 malfunctioning bits, because it helps justify a bit we're going to see later that makes no fucking sense in the theatrical cut.
Yeah. But now the Terminator and the T-1000 are going to face off in a fair fight, which is not going to go well because the T-1000 is, indisputably a better Terminator than the T-800 in terms of durability and combat ability. The fact that the T-800 manages to win in the end anyway against all these advanced Terminators throughout the series is just like the ultimate underdog story.
Well, there's 2 things to that. I think one is that it turned on the learning chip, right?
Yes.
So it has the ability to adapt.
That definitely helps it, yes.
So being more human makes it more able to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Where it's thrown face first into the wall.
And it just shapeshifts to the other orientation. Yeah, that is an excellent effect. I love the T-1000 as a concept. And one of the most disappointing things about the other Terminators is that they have the liquid metal concept and don't use it half as well.
Well, the Terminators were also initially supposed to be like spies or infiltrators to the human resistance, right?
Yes. Yeah,
which makes the liquid metal thing where you can become any form you need, like, also, like, kind of terrifying in that context.
Yeah. If Skynet hadn't been too scared to build more of the T-1000s, it probably would have destroyed humanity. Would have destroyed itself in the same thrust, but, humanity would have had no chance against an army of these things. Now, one of the interesting things about the T-1000 in this whole Iron Mill sequence is that it keeps dismissing the T-800 as a threat rather than bothering to finish it off. Because it's not programmed to kill the Terminator. It's programmed to kill John Connor. And everything that it does has to contribute to killing John Connor. Killing the T-800 when it's not a threat is a waste of time in this machine's eyes, so it doesn't bother, which is an extreme tactical error on its part.
Yeah, I think it's too mission focused right now. Like, John Connor is right there.
Dark Fate actually brings that up as a tactical advantage that the humans have. He says that the Terminator only sees its mission, so if we put its target here, it will come here.
Which I think they take advantage of, I think, towards the climax of that movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, as Sarah describes, they lure it to a kill box.
Yeah.
My phone is going off.
Don't answer it because your foster parents have been terminated.
Oh no, has Luce been turned into a Terminator this whole time?
That was my "you need to go to the gym" alarm. I forgot I had that set.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. If Luce was a Terminator, he wouldn't need to go to the gym.
Man. Okay, so this is the bit that doesn't make sense without the scenes where the T-1000 is malfunctioning. Its shape-shifting is malfunctioning, so it doesn't have complete faith in its ability to imitate Sarah Connor anymore. It's right not to have faith in it, by the way, because it doesn't work later on. It's trying to torture Sarah into calling for her son so it doesn't have to try.
Yeah. Which I think, with the extended bits, greatly infers and establishes that. Because without it, you're left asking, why not just kill her now, replicate her, and then use the voice?
I don't think I would have made that connection personally. Maybe I'm just not smart enough.
I don't know. Maybe granted, you're probably not thinking that in your first viewing, but it's just, I think it's really glaring on, like, starting with your second watch, because you remember when he replicated the foster parents and is able to imitate the voice, that sort of thing. It is something that is firmly established that a Terminator can do. So why wouldn't the T-1000 do that? I love the shot here. I love the lighting of that shot so much.
I mean, the lighting of the grates underneath onto everything is also very.
The fact that this lighting is so good is part of the reason the 4K remaster is apparently so hated by fans of the movie, because it messes with the color grading, which messes with the effect of the lighting. So the effect of a lot of scenes is ruined, or at least severely undermined. But going back to the question of whether you'd make that connection while watching or after watching, it's like, no matter what movie it is, after the movie is over, a lot of the viewers are going to start asking questions about what they just watched. And the moment they start asking, why did the T-1000 bother to torture Sarah instead of just killing her and imitating her, since all it needs to do is touch her to imitate her? Why didn't it do that? Why did it bother trying to torture her? The theatrical cut did not have anything in it that provided an answer to that question, whereas the extended cut does have an answer to that question.
I guess for me is just that it doesn't spell it out too clearly. It still makes you think about it a little bit,
which is not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
It's only the most amateurish of people who immediately ask a question and say, oh, that must be a plot hole, without working backwards to see if anything else in the same story answers the question,
Why didn't Sarah Connor, why didn't it just pretend to be Sarah Connor? Ding. CinemaSins, ding. I hate CinemaSins.
Like and subscribe.
That is actually interesting, though, now that you're bringing it up, in that the T-1000 makes the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah. It's a computer. It hasn't had much time to learn in the past. And I imagine it was kept under tight control by Skynet when it was in the future, because it's a prototype that Skynet is actively afraid of, so it wouldn't want to give it too much freedom in the future either. So it probably hasn't been operational for very long either. But, it's pre-programmed with a lot of stuff that makes it dangerous. And it's able to learn, which makes it even more dangerous. Now, the T-800 has a backup generator, Things with internal power sources should have fail-safes. And I imagine that the Terminators of the future had backup generators, because if their one generator got shot, they're screwed. It's kind of surprising that the T-1000 did not know this about the T-800, but then again, it was not designed to kill Terminators. So maybe it just didn't have detailed files.
I like the simple subversion of it too.
Yeah.
Because the Terminator having an auxiliary power would be terrifying in the original movie, because this thing will not die. But now it's used as a moment of hope.
Well, it might have had it in the original movie too. The thing is, the entire body superstructure got crushed all at once. So both generators went at the same time.
You see, I always took it that the truck explosion, the one that melted all of its skin off, killed it. And it's running on auxiliary power for the rest of the movie.
It might be. It's just not specified one way or the other. So
no, it's not.
Its feet malfunctioned. Its camouflage failed it.
Yep.
Okay, that also I think does enough for me.
Yeah, but that was cut out of the theatrical release too, because the scene that the scene that established that it was malfunctioning was cut. The scene where it malfunctioned was cut. So
then how does John know which one to...
He just knows.
He just guesses when she says get down, and she gets down.
Yeah.
And he gets down, so, Now, this is one of the most iconic things, and also the last understated bit of emotion this thing shows. It holds up a finger and waves it at her. Why would a robot do something like that? Why would a robot taunt someone? It's learning. It's becoming self-aware. Not for long, though.
You're learning too much. Take this, Grok.
I do have to say the makeup for Arnold, I do think is very good.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yes. Yeah.
This is freakish.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
And it's a practical effect.
The fuck? How the hell did they do that with real shit?
Well, I mean, it's all puppetry and animatronic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is some straight up nightmare fuel, by the way. The way the T-1000 melts isn't just like it gets submerged and it melts. No, it rapidly shapeshifts through all the forms it's collected so far, trying to find some way out of the situation it's in. But of course, it doesn't have one. It can't get out of this situation. It's dying. Can a robot feel fear?
Oh, shit.
I don't know. Maybe just the equivalent of fear.
The other head popping. Oh, God. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. I'm not sleeping tonight. That's wonderful.
That is some fantastic imagery right there. And it still holds up in 2025. This movie was what year was this movie?
1991.
1991. And it still holds up. Jesus fucking Christ.
Again, I like to think that James Cameron was given the realms to do whatever the fuck he wanted with the CGI because of The Abyss, because The Abyss had very similar liquid effects.
Oh, the Abyss was where they realized they could do the liquid effects. The idea for a liquid metal Terminator was one that he came up with during Terminator 1, but he just didn't think he could pull it off.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like, if you're making the most expensive movie of all time, I feel like you'd probably have somebody looking over your shoulder.
The T-1000.
Oh, no.
Is this good enough? And you just have the finger wag. You keep doing that. Speak. Yes. No.
I like how John asks the T-800 if this would melt the arm, because before just assuming it. And the T-800 knows what would melt him, so, he's able to give an affirmative answer.
It looks like a chocolate bar.
It does kind of look like a chocolate.
I always thought that too. Hey, someone took a bite out of this thing.
Oh, so it goes in. Oh, okay.
The Terminator has to.
This is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is obviously like the most iconic scene in the movie.
Yes.
Coming up right here. I always thought that like he died like sacrificing himself or to save somebody or
to destroy the T2, to destroy the T1000. Yeah. No, although he does pull something like that in Dark Fate and something like that in all the other shitty sequels. But here he's just sacrificing himself because he has a chip in his head that could theoretically create Skynet. So one of the things about Dark Fate that kind of makes me angry is that John Connor dying to another Terminator at the beginning makes this sacrifice in particular a really stupid one. Because the whole problem could have been solved by the T-800 sticking around to protect John. Another Terminator would have been really useful when that random-ass Terminator showed up at the beach.
Also, I mean, I feel that I know the concept of a boy and his Terminator sounds raw as fuck, but I think that was like the basis behind Genesis, and it ended up not working as well as it should have.
Yeah. Anyway, an interesting change made to this part of the script and we know it's late in development because the novel has the original version of the scene in it. Originally, the Terminator was just going to jump in the lava by itself. The I cannot self-terminate rule was added late in filming because they thought it would work better, and I think it does, actually. Sarah having to lower the Terminator in because the Terminator can't do it, and him letting her do it as a sort of way to get around its programming is it's really, really touching. I like this. I love this scene so much. It also bookends the movie nicely because although Sarah Connor is the last face we see on screen, but when the camera fades out, the movie begins literally with the T-800 arriving and ends with it dying. I love the show of respect Sarah has for the T-800 here, though. Like, she's really made...
this is great.
She's made her peace with this thing, even though it terrified her and she fell apart the first time she saw it. It's beautiful character growth.
Because she's never shown like any respect for it throughout the rest of the movie. It's just something she deals with. You know, she doesn't want to have this thing around.
Well, she did start to grow respect for it as it occurred to her that it was becoming a father figure for John when he didn't have one. But like, it's just like so much has changed for this woman in so short a time, and then Dark Fate had to go and ruin it. Fucking hell.
Every movie after this had to go and ruin it. Like, oh, God.
Well, you know, at least in Terminator 3, Sarah died before the plot unraveled itself.
Sure.
I mean, she had the foresight to stick a bunch of guns in a mausoleum, but...
You guys want to watch RoboCop?
I've never seen RoboCop. I've seen
really? Okay.
I've seen clips of it, but I've never sat down to watch
it. Nobody knows because they're watching their own version of it.
Yeah, so like
John's Amazon wants RoboCop to come up next.
Yeah, for context, we're watching my digital video on Amazon via Discord stream, and the movie knows the credits are coming up, so it shows you the up next, and it's literally RoboCop, Bloodsport. We're talking about John Claude Van Damme earlier too. That's kind of
weird. You see, I didn't see that because I'm watching my own digital copy here.
But all right, so the movie selection is RoboCop, Bloodsport, RoboCop 3. Wow, it really just ignored 2. Hot Fuzz, which is great, and MLB. The Royals are apparently facing the Marlins today.
Man, this movie is still so good. I love it.
Yeah, this is legit a fantastic watch. I love it to death. I watch it at least once a year. One of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time.
That was very, very good. Yes.
One thing I will say is that in the original cut, and I think the remaster or one of the other extended editions added it back in. It's only in the deleted scenes for the Skynet Edition Blu-ray, but there was an epilogue filmed and completed for this that would happen after the Terminator dies that shows an older Sarah Connor in a very 80s looking future. Looking out on the totally futuristic buildings of 2029.
Sorry, I'm looking at the credits, and the twins, who one of them was the T-1000, They were Dawn and Dan. Oh my God, who named? Oh Jesus Christ,
Louis.
That's what you name your twins in a cartoon.
I'm absolutely with you because I remember seeing that deleted ending out of context for myself the first time, and my first thought was, "Is this a deleted scene from Back to the Future 2?"
It does kind of look like it, and but like the worst part is the makeup they used to make Linda Hamilton look like an old
terrible.
woman. It's terrible. It is awful. Yeah. And like not only was the scene kind of sappy in its own way, and John Connor became a future politician, which is like, okay, yeah, politician, that's fine. We could use a John Connor in Congress right now, actually, but
Congress.
John
Congressman.
But like Linda Hamilton,
that sounds like a Kojima character.
The makeup job on Grandma Linda Hamilton was so bad. I am glad that was taken out of the movie because it would have just been a weird note to go out on. But I also just like the book ending of the movie on the arrival and death of the T-800. Because the T-800 is kind of an emotional through line. It's a robot that's slowly learning how to comprehend and express emotion. I don't want to say feel emotion, because as the Terminator says, he knows why you cry, but it's something he can never do. The best that a machine could ever do is develop its own alien, incomprehensible equivalent of emotion. Yeah. Which, to be fair, Dark Fate kind of goes into a little bit.
But you give it the entirety of you give it the complete series of Star Trek: The Next Generation, you probably can learn a thing or two from Data.
Well, yeah, but like the idea though is that like it's a robot. It can't feel emotion the same way a biological human can because it doesn't have all those brain processes and chemical processes going on that make your body feel certain ways in response to certain stimuli,
Yeah, it just when you're anxious, you don't just think I'm anxious. Like your chest will contract, like you feel your blood running more. And when you're sad, it's not just that you cry, like you feel more tired and whatnot.
Yeah. This or that chemical will fire off in your brain to make you feel certain ways. So a computer that is basically pure logic would have to travel a different path to arrive at the same conclusion. So a Terminator would not freak out. It would not lose control of itself due to its emotions, but it would reprioritize things. Dark Fate goes into that when it describes the way the T-800 in that movie feels about its family and its purpose after its mission was completed. So it could not self-terminate, so it went looking for a purpose and it found a family to protect.
Play the hit Nintendo game from Acclaim/LGN Entertainment. That's
no.
What the fuck? I just noticed that. I never noticed that.
No,
that's the Genesis game that I played. LJN did that. It was awful. It wasn't as awful as some of the other LJN games, to be fair, but it was unfair hard,
Yeah.
But like,
yeah, I miss when credits were only like 2 minutes.
We need to do more movie commentaries, though. This was great. We need to do more movies.
Yeah, I did legit miss this.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because I just love shooting the shit. Are you sure you guys don't want to watch RoboCop 3?
Well, RoboCop at some point might be a good movie for us to do, but I propose...
I have not seen any of the RoboCops. None of them.
I propose that, since we brought it up a couple times during this commentary, why don't we do Dark Fate at some point?
Some point. Sure. I'm not in any
rush
to watch Dark Fate.
Not right away. It's not a great movie. I'm not in any rush to do it, but it would be an interesting one to talk about because I have thoughts. I have lots of thoughts about Dark Fate.
I guess I do too.
It's certainly much more feasible to do a movie commentary on something that's not great but interesting versus the Pokemon Emeralds and Super Paper Marios of the world, which are interesting to talk about, but it's a video game, so it takes 30 parts. Versus we can do one movie.
I wouldn't want I wouldn't want to do a full commentary series on all the Terminator movies because Terminator 3 is just a dumb action movie. There's not much to talk about other than how it isn't very good story-wise. And I think Genesis might be a fun commentary simply because of how batshit crazy it is, but Dark Fate is the only really interesting one among the sequels that I think merits a commentary visit. But anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you're going to get me to rewatch some of those movies. I feel is to do a commentary because I refuse otherwise. But
since Ted said he hadn't seen RoboCop, we could certainly do that at some point too.
I'd be down.
I haven't seen RoboCop. It would be cool to watch it. Yeah.
all right, then it's a date.
Well, that's the end of our Terminator 2 commentary, everyone. I'm not sure when we'll get to another movie commentary, but we'll get to one eventually. In the meantime, enjoy Pokemon Black and White or whatever we're running when you rewatch this, future viewers. Bye.